Best part, man. All the banter beforehand.
Yeah.
I love the pre and the post shows.
You know what I really love is the guy Tim just had in class in wherever it was. I had him in Pennsylvania. I didn't know if the guy was just completely brain dead or what.
I'm not sure to referring.
One guy out of New York with a 22, 24-inch Benelli.
Oh, Lord. Matt, good to see you, dude.
Yo,
Matthew,
Hey, he's
what up,
here.
dog?
I finally got this thing to work. Technology.
Hallelujah.
Now, just so you know, we are live right now, but it's not the official live. This is the pre-show, so this is just making sure everything's functional.
Yeah, I'm going to plug my earbuds in a minute when I get enough juice on them anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can
Are
come
people
back
watching
and
this now?
We currently have over 20 viewers, and we just started the feed. They've been waiting for us.
Yay.
Much anticipated.
Very much so.
I think a lot of people just want to see Steve get in a wreck live.
That would be so epic. Or they like watching me drive with goggles down the freeway at night.
There you
for
go.
90 miles. That was
Did you hit a deer? You hit a deer and have to put it down on camera.
Oh, great. I let one walk tonight. I had a young 6-point in the yard and I had the muzzle loader on him, and young 6-pointer, real tall, real wide, and I decided to let him walk. I was like 40 yards. I was just like, yeah, don't feel like gutting deer right now.
You know, speaking of which, we do have that on the horizon, that hunting episode. It's just a matter of figuring out when.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be a good one. That would be great.
Now we're now over 30. We're at 35 now, and it's still climbing. Viewers, not age. I'm beyond that.
It's like Bitcoin. It's like Bitcoin.
That's right. That's right. And it crashes.
That's okay. Matt, I'm bummed I'm not coming out there to see your old man and you.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good class, I think.
Yeah, it'll be a good crew. You got a good crew of people coming out. It really is. Your dad is just awesome.
I kind of like it.
Was he going to jump on with us?
Yeah, here in a bit.
Cool.
Yeah, I really like Matt's dad. He's just a great dude. He is such an awesome guy. Like I'll put like shotgun world. There's Louis, and then there's Rob, and somewhere in between those two, it's like Bill Jeans when he was really on the top of things. But man, oh man, Rob was awesome.
Rob is definitely a stop on the shotgun Hodge.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, when you said about Matt's dad, I'm thinking, when have you met my dad?
Not you, Landfair.
It's not all about you.
I was just going to say, it's not all about you, Matt. You know what'll be worse is like something happens tonight while we're doing this live, and I have to fill somebody in with this 1911, and I can put it to rest that, hey, 1911s do work, and it's a 45, and I won't get killed in the street.
I'm
See,
disappointed.
that's funny. Yeah, that's opposite.
I know. Shotgun and 1911s. God, what's wrong with this country?
Look who I found, guys.
There he is.
Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Oh, how are you, Rob?
You're live on the air.
I was just saying bad things about you.
So we are live, but we're not like officially live yet. We're just kind of making sure everything's functional and giving the viewers something to watch while they're eating or something.
Yeah.
And so for those of you, I guess it's just Steve that's the veteran on this. If you guys go to YouTube, I'll post the link right here. There is a live chat going on, and we have people talking.
Good.
So let me find our chat, and I can give you the link to that. And so when you pull that up, just make sure you have it muted or paused. Otherwise, we'll get a lot of nice feedback. On the right-hand side of the screen is the chat. And so we'll have all kinds of people on there talking about all kinds of random things. And we might actually get some good questions. So that will be a positive.
I don't get to see it from my phone.
No.
There we go. That's you, baby.
So let's see here. We still have Adam. Well, we still have 20 minutes, though, so no hurry, no rush.
Not at all. Mm-mm. You know, it was funny. This year was a good year for shotgun classes. It was kind of weird. It's like I get these spurts of shotgun classes. Like some years you get 5 or 7 dudes, 10 dudes. This year, I think I pulled 4 shotgun classes, and every one of them were 19 to 20 people.
Oh, wow.
It was ridiculous. I don't know what the deal was, but it was just a really strange year for shotgun. Everybody wanted shotgun this year. And I think a lot of those dudes are just bored with carbines and handguns. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but it was just really a strange thing. It was like when the ammo crunch was on in like 2007, 8, shotgun class was like through the roof. It was 2 to 1. And then all of a sudden, nothing. This year was a good year for shotgun.
I don't know. Personally, for me, and this is a little shout out to one of our guests who's about to be on, Adam's stuff has really increased my interest in it. Yeah,
Adam's stuff is great. I had Adam early on in the class with his stuff and, beta testing that, and we shot the snot out of it. It's a great side saddle. It's a great system.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than the Tacstar and the Mesa. It doesn't come apart.
One can say this damn thing with fan praise.
Yeah. I'll tell you, though, you know what? I mean, for as much as that is, I'm a big guy on the Velcro cards from 3-Gun Gear. Man, I can throw 7 rounds on the side of the gun, 9 rounds. It's still a viable thing for somebody who doesn't need or doesn't want to spend $130 on a side saddle.
Yep.
Absolutely is.
Yeah, and still you have that interchangeability and modularity, and yeah.
Yep. Yeah, the good thing is all it takes is some paracord and a carabiner. That's it. You guys could be out here in Michigan area where it's like 19 degrees right now. It's just awesome.
Over by me, I think we're around 30.
I think it's something about like 65 or 70 here right now.
I hate you. We don't have scorpions in Michigan, though.
That's true. If it's any consolation.
Nope, your audio died.
Say again, Dad. Said if it's any consolation.
Nope.
Died.
Yeah. Something with the mic.
Test.
We can hear
I
you.
can hear you.
Okay. All right. Talk, Dad. Test. Maybe I got to go over here.
Doesn't like your dad.
Maybe we need a spoon or something here.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
It's not like you need warmth, though. Now, if you were by Steve, that would be a much viable option.
Yeah, it could be.
It might be because it might be trying to kill any extra noise, and it's directional. So it's pointing at whoever's in a specific area. So additional noise, it will cut out.
How's this? Is this any better?
That's
Yes.
better.
Okay, we'll just have to rotate the damn thing. We'll just have to rotate the damn thing. You're right. It is directional.
Interesting. Modern technology.
Laptop cameras, man. Oof.
Yeah.
Ugh. Make sure you got Post-it notes over them and tape.
Well, I'm not going to make that joke since we're streaming to the internet.
Oh no, that's fine.
I'm already on the watch list. It doesn't matter.
Hey, careful. I'm going to tattle on you.
Oh, yeah. You'll be the 5th one this week. My feelings are so upset and hurt.
I can't believe that.
I loved it. It was great. I was like,
I believe it, but I can't believe people do that.
oh, yeah. You know why? Because dudes don't want to trade hands anymore. That's why. Speaking of which.
Speaking of the devil.
The man, the myth, the legend himself.
What's up?
What's going on, dude?
So, Chuck, are you really getting that sleeping bag? Because that's impressive.
Yeah.
That
It's,
looks cool. Or warm.
Those are awesome.
Yeah, the wife and I were looking at going over, starting to do some ultralight winter camping, and she's just cold all the time. And double bags would have cost a little bit more, and we wouldn't have been able to just cuddle up for warmth or whatever. So the weight was still negligible. I'm going to end up, the downside to having a single bag is somebody has to hump both sleeping bags essentially. But in the ultralight configuration with the 950 down fill, a 10-degree bag is going to come in just over 2 pounds, like less than 2.5 pounds for a 10-degree waterproof down 950 fill bag for both of us. And then it comes with straps that hook sleeping pads together, so she'll have her thermarest and I'll have mine, that we can carry in our own packs. And then when we inflate them, the bottom straps hook them together so they can't spread apart, and then hook into the outside of the quilt system.
Nice.
So yeah, it's really cool. Even at the top with the head box, it has his and hers shrink-in head stuff. So if I'm hot, I can actually go like single leg out, undo it, and kind of rock it like a poncho liner, and she could still be cocooned up like a burrito, and it's all good to go. Okay. And then I got our little down booties to wear inside of it, and a none shall pass snooky cap looking lofted thing that can cover the face and all that. So basically the hood of a mummy bag without being attached to the mummy bag. So
yeah, the more I grab stuff like that, it's like the Kafaru Whoobies and their bag and stuff. Oh, dude, it's like magic. I took it on that bear hunt. Oh, temperature dropped 30 degrees overnight. It was just epic having that thing.
So that's the thing that led me down the road to this, is that we both have Kafaru Whoobies, and we end up sleeping all the time just wrapped up in our individual poncho liners, and then dogs go run the gap, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, I haven't felt the soft skin of my wife in days, because there's this impenetrable gulf of canines and whoobies between us. So her and I are trying to get back to snap linking into each other at the hip and making everything else go outboard. So
there you go. Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the dogs, but that answers it.
There it is.
Yeah, Mish will I'll bring one of the Kafaru Whoobies or whatever, and she'll sleep on that. And if she gets real cold, she'll just thread the needle and come up under the bag and sleep between us.
Legit.
Yep. Now I got to save up for our backpacks, which are going to be like a lot. So.
Ospreys.
No. I'm going with carbon fiber company that I got read onto, and all of the YouTubers that are through hikers, Pacific Northwest Trail and Appalachian Trail, all of their reviews of the Z-Packs brand backpacks versus all the other ultralight, lightweight gear out there, they're just crushing it right now.
Damn.
So the Osprey is a good pack, but it's not like truly ridiculously. The dudes I'm following on YouTube are, dry weights around 6.5, 7 pounds. I mean, just ridiculous lightweight. Wow.
Wow.
Coming from a guy that used to carry a 29-pound LBE before we carried body armor. My old ass can't hump up a mountain with an 80-pound pack anymore. Not to have any fun.
Yeah.
The problem, though, with using those YouTube videos, a lot of times those reviews are sped up, or they change the angles to make things look a lot more dynamic. So those sleeping bag reviews on YouTube, I wouldn't trust them.
I thought you were going to say they were using camera angles to make them look lighter.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's essentially what I was getting at. Then they're speeding up the footage.
That's right. Yeah, so I just, you guys know the deal. You get on the YouTube rabbit hole, and I didn't even know what the fuck ultralight was. I was doing something else, probably truck 4-wheel drive car camping related. And before I know it, I'm following this granola on his fucking 2-month trip up the Appalachian Trail while he's fucking burning through Solomon's and fucking having extra Solomon's drop shipped to him. He's like, oh yeah, the Appalachian Trail is 1,200 miles. That's a 3 pair of Solomon hike, And he's like, I'm like, damn, dude, when you're walking your shoes into destruction and having to like, airdrop that shit in it. Oh yeah, if I can make it to Eloy, I'll get a UPS care package there. It's like, damn, these motherfuckers just do nothing but get up all day and walk. Yeah, it's like me and the Rangers minus the occasional parachute, first sergeant, ass chewing, and some weapons fire. But they do it for fun and shit. Fuck all that.
Adam,
you looking trans, buddy?
Yeah, I've never done this, so I'm trying to get it all figured out.
we can hear you. That's always a positive.
Yeah.
We're going in the right direction, so that's good.
And we already plugged you, so.
Aw.
Yeah, so you don't even need to be on the show. We'll just dump you right now.
That's great. I'll go get a nap then or something.
That's right. Oh man, I could use that. Had a nice funeral this morning, always delightful, and then a dance recital of the daughters just got home from. Yeah. Full day.
Hey, so which setting do I hit that it'll automatically change whenever somebody talks, or is that an option?
It is an option. Basically, what you have right now is you have one of the boxes, one of someone's image is highlighted right now.
Okay.
So you don't want to do that. So you want to click on it again, and then they should switch back and forth then.
Hey, good. I don't have to look at Steve nonstop now.
Well, no, wait, I did that on purpose.
That's cruel and unusual.
Oh, and Steve's
Tim's hair instead.
Absolutely.
It does live up to the hype.
That hair is legendary.
I'm almost pretty enough to be a West Coast SEAL.
So yeah, in case you guys didn't pick this up yet, we are live. We just haven't officially started anything. So just so if anyone has any stuff they accidentally blurred out, the internet already knows. It's too late.
I actually penned the Russian dossier. It was all me.
Ah. It's too late. The internet knows now. Oh yeah. So
So you're
speaking of
saying I
which,
should have put my pants on already?
Yeah.
no, I'm not wearing any pants either. This is the way to do it.
God told me
now
I
you
had to
tell
have
me.
pants.
Not with a shotgun show. That's overkill. Typically, the way I do this is it's fairly free flowing. If you haven't watched these before, we'll touch upon some topics, beat them to death. And then at the very end, I'll do the little wrap-up stuff. After I do all that wrap-up stuff, we'll still be continuing, and we'll do a quick little kind of a live AAR. A lot of times people come on later and miss the whole thing, and we can kind of talk about, hey, this was great, and you missed it, and coupon codes or whatever. And then we'll kill the feed after that. As a matter of fact, I think it was the last one we did with Craig Douglas. Some of the post... What do I even call them? This is the pre-show, the post-show, the after-show, after-party thingy. Some of the stuff they were discussing, he and Varg, that was awesome. That was like real content that it's unfortunate it didn't make it to the final cut. It is available for our network support members, but that's another story. But yeah, the pre and the post can really contain some really good info. So that's just motivation to either be a network support member or watch this live. Benefit of watching it live is you have a chat. We can hear from you. We can give immediate feedback. And Steve is still muted. Yep, still muted.
Still muted, Steve. He's just
You gotta hit that
jabbering.
little button that says mute, Steve.
He's resorting to American Sign Language.
Yeah, who knows sign language here? I'm out. I know that one.
No.
There we
There you
go.
go.
Oh, now he's muted again.
No, he's
No,
muted.
no. I'm just looking forward to all the interesting topics tonight and all the interesting conversation about it.
I'm really looking forward to Chuck just knocking everything down.
Yeah.
Number one shot. No.
Shotgun.
Yeah, I saw you at him. I said, "Oh, I know how this is going to go."
They're great for killing birds and opening up doors.
See, okay, I invited Bill to come on, Bill Blowers.
Yeah.
He said, well, I just basically use it as a door key. It's still useful. It's still used. It's use of it. He has them set up. He has experience. That's the kind of info we want, but that's okay. He's a busy guy now that he's so close to retirement now. He's establishing his business.
He's got Lead Faucet in town. He's hosting them right now.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he's got Danny Boy up there. Mm-hmm. Good dude. I like me some Brocos.
Yeah, he's a good egg, man, for sure.
Solid cat. Solid dude. I'm waiting to see all the big implosions at SHOT Show this year. I can't wait for that. Oh, God.
Yeah, SHOT Show.
Yay, us. I'm so excited again.
Hey, but we get to road trip.
Woo!
Travel plans got approved.
Awesome.
So,
We're going to have a good time. Be legit.
Yeah.
Good. I'm down. I'm booking the Suburban this week.
You want to do the tactical short bus again, Steve?
No, I've just got some road stops to make, and I'll be snagging Chuck on the way.
Yeah, we're gonna link up after in-service training, and then commute up to Vegas for SHOT. I was supposed to be doing a closed DoD course the week prior, but the government couldn't get the ammo forecasted in time. So the contracting agency asked me if I could push it to the week after SHOT. So I said, yeah, no problem. So that's going to allow me to fly down one way to link up for in-service, link up with Fish, drive to Vegas, and then fly back to Seattle from Vegas. So it kind of works out plane ticket-wise and everything else.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Should we start already?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I guess so. Speaking of SHOT, who do we have in our immediate group, not this panel, but among our friends, who are SIG 320 users?
Hess was the only one that I know for sure.
Stephen Hess?
Yeah, I've got 320s.
Okay. I have one. I'm not very fond of it. This is not a bad gun. And those CZs,
the gun that really shines in the 320 lineup is the X5 competition. I've got one of those.
Well, I like it because of the classic SIG feel, because I started law enforcement with SIGs.
Yeah.
And 229 or 226, I like those. This one, there's just something peculiar about it. I can't put my finger on it. My finger does definitely reach the trigger. That's no question, but there's just something unusual about it.
There's a fix for that. It's called a 1911.
Oh, I had one of those I have a couple of them. I had one from Nighthawk. That was a nice pistol. I genuinely liked
Great gun.
That was a great gun.
Mm-hmm. It's a beast. I know, believe it or not, I'm carrying one without a light rail, and it's a 45 government model with a gold bead front sight.
What? Yep, killed on the streets, just like you said.
Absolutely. 100%.
Well, I guess we could probably start something. So before we do, just for those of you that are watching at home, this is going to be also broadcast on Spreaker. You go on Spreaker, do a search for primary and secondary. This will be live. So if you're on your phone, you can save yourself data, battery, and all that other kind of stuff. You can just listen to the audio-only version. Kind of nice. I definitely don't encourage people to have this on while they're driving and watching it, unlike what Steve does. Well, you're parked. I don't know why you're parked. Oh, you're muted again.
I said it's much
Still muted.
easier and safer this way. Much safer this way.
Don't you have a hotel room or something? Okay.
No, I'm
But
on my
yes.
way home.
Okay. But yeah, as pointed out in YouTube, if you happen to be on YouTube, we do have a chat. Hopefully, that chat's going to stay on task for the most part. We don't need to ban people for talking about random anything. Excuse me. Sometimes we get some really, really good content from the chat. Good questions, good observations.
Is chat up?
Chat is up.
How do I access it?
Go to the
Scroll right.
YouTube link. Yep.
Yeah.
And Ambrosia is here. AT. He's your boy. He's in chat right now.
I'm watching.
Oh, I bet you have the screen maximized. If you minimize it one step, chat will come up on the right-hand side.
No, I've got all the fucking previews of all the other videos on the right where chat should be.
Oh, here, let me get you a new link then. Maybe that will fix it. I need another monitor.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to shoot you. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to shoot you. What?
Mighty Python.
I know what that is.
Steve, expect contact from a company about a toy.
Got it. I had to open it up in the YouTube app.
Gotcha.
Couldn't run it from Internet Explorer. Track.
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, look at all these bitches. I mean,
Internet
All y'all
Explorer is
bitches,
your
go
problem.
Get a life. Get a life.
Well, right now we have
Internet
we
Explorer is
have-
like going to Georgia and asking for a Coke. It doesn't mean I want fucking Coke. It's just whatever.
Right. I need a soda.
a sody, a pop. Yeah, right now we have 104 viewers, so that's not bad. Yeah, Steve, you're going to be contacted by a representative of a company to send you a toy.
Great.
Not the first time this has ever happened, but yeah.
Awesome.
Let's see here. Okay. Show that G34. The G34 is put away right now. I have my P10C right here. Does that count? And my P09. Yeah, that's going to get you killed on the streets.
Absolutely. 5-inch government gun in stainless with a gold bead and no light. Oh my God, what will I do?
And it's nighttime. You are so screwed.
I got a handheld dog.
So I had an epiphany the other night that Fisher's basement is the fucking Swiss bank. So all the guns are in the Swiss bank because he's Switzerland. So
It is. It is.
that bitch ain't met a modern firearm he doesn't want to lock up in the vault. Swiss bank.
Oh wait, let me think. Yeah, there's one or two.
Okay.
Maybe 3. That's about it.
Wheel, you guys ready? Or want to give it a couple of minutes?
Do it. It's
Matt,
I think we got a good panel here. I think let everybody roll hot. Let's do this.
Yeah, dude, light that fuse.
And if Rob doesn't come back, we can have him do his intro last.
Yeah, he'll be back in a second. He's grabbing some steak.
I don't blame him. I do the same. All right. Well, let's see here. Oh, and for you viewers, you know Jailborn was on that ballistic modcast. Only just for a second, though. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe Chuck will invite him back. I think Chuck's the one that brought him in.
Yeah, JNL and I met on the internet, and he was talking about some gun stuff, and I was like, yo, man, I got it. You're a shooting enthusiast, but what's up? And seriously, I enjoy your books, so if you ever have any questions about whatever, hit me up to maintain that that authentic accuracy as far as your work. And he was like, oh, yeah, right on. So It was probably something silly about like irradiated Navy SEALs in New Orleans or some shit trying to capture zombies, and I called him out and said, no, that's not how it would go at all. So anyway, we've been kind of hanging out, or not hanging out, but we message back and forth every now and again. Good dude.
Cool.
Good dude.
Well, I guess I will start the official whatever. I'll hit go live and then do all the intro stuff and then have everyone do their intros. So with that in mind, I will hit go live on the audio side, and this side, you won't hear anything on the final episode or in the final draft because I edit it. So,
Okay.
And we have 33 seconds before it starts. We are right now hearing a commercial for Forge Tactical. Forge Tactical and also Faxon are our sponsors, specifically for the podcast. 15 seconds out. Hey everyone, Matt Landfair here with Primary and Secondary. Welcome to ModCast. This is ModCast number 126, The Gauge. Yes, shotguns. Today is December 7th, 2017. I think this is a topic that it's overdue. We've talked about carbines, we've talked about pistols, we've talked about all kinds of stuff, but we haven't talked about the shotgun. If you think of an iconic weapon for law enforcement, shotgun. Breaching, shotgun. There are all kinds of uses. With one of my former departments, the chief designated the shotgun to be a specialty weapon. You need to go through some extra special training to use the shotgun, and everyone got carbines. And he wanted to have the versatility of the shotgun be wide open for all kinds of needs. There are only two in that department, 2 shotguns, but I haven't been the biggest fan. They sure can be effective, though. And fortunately, we have just the right panel to discuss this. We just did have, I just re-released the Ballistics ModCast with Gary Roberts. He talked a little bit about them. He talked about some shells, some effectiveness, some distances. If you haven't heard it, you probably want to hear it. Not necessarily right now, because it's time to listen to the live show. If you're joining us on YouTube, we do have our live chat going on right now. We also do have Spreaker going. It is live. If you're listening through Spreaker, you're probably saving your battery. You're also saving your data. So those are kind of nice. Big thanks to Faxon and I have noises going on in the background. Big thanks to Faxon and Forge Tactical Training. They are our sponsors for the podcast. I think I'm just going to jump right into intros and have this start on up. My background's in law enforcement. I've shot some shotguns. I own some shotguns. They can be effective. They have some cool quirks to them. However, they're not the most simple weapon to use, so it takes a little bit of training like anything else. So let's see here. I think we probably should go to Tim. Tim, tell us about yourself.
Howdy, folks. I'm Tim Chandler. I'm teaching in concert with FPF training and putting some stuff together with 360 shooting performance soon to fill the gaping void in shotgun training in the Eastern Seaboard area.
And what's your background with shotguns specifically?
The shotgun was the first gun I ever fired when I was like 11 years old, rabbit hunting, some of the best up in New Jersey, some of the best fun you can have. But I developed a keen interest in the shotgun as a home defense weapon, many, many moons ago, and what you could actually do with it and where it actually makes sense to use. And so I've pursued it since then. I'd say probably at least 10, 12 years of trying to work on it and get it right.
Cool. And then we have Matt.
I am just a IT dweeb that grew up with a good teacher shooting shotguns. So I kind of learned by osmosis.
So with you having this good teacher, how has that changed your perspective of shotguns?
I don't know if it changed it so much as said it differently than what I grew up seeing.
Nope, we're having that mic issue.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I started off with a different perspective than most people. I grew up in a rural area. I grew up using a shotgun to hunt with. We hunted squirrels with them. Most people where I grew up had never used anything other than a bolt gun, a lever gun, or a pump gun. You didn't see a lot of guys back then in that area using ARs. So we grew up shooting shotguns and was kind of stuck with it.
Cool. And now I'm going to go in a completely different direction. And Chuck.
You're on mute, Chuck.
Yeah,
There you go.
no, I'm not. Chuck P, retired Army guy. Not a big shotgun user, but I grew up hunting, and all of my hunting was small game. So I had a semi-auto Remington 410 that I ran dove and squirrel and rabbit, and graduated up and bought an Ithaca featherweight at a gun show in 20 gauge. It was pretty legit. Unfortunately, the operating group was held together on the inside by electrical tape. And when the gun finally broke, took it to a gunsmith, and they said it would be cheaper to get another one than to fix this. So I got an 870 Wingmaster in 20, and I shot that in high school. And I still have that shotgun. It's in the closet right now today, actually. And that was it. And then I moved on to military shotguns, carried a full-size 870 and a Car 15 when I was a young Ranger. We ended up cutting the shotguns down, and I started running, short barrel shotguns for ballistic breaching for pretty much, 20, 25 years that I was in. In there along the way, I messed around with the full-size Benellis prior to the adoption of with the Marine Corps. That was initially the Joint Service Shotgun Project, which the Marines were the proponent, but it was supposed to replace all 870s and 500s in all 4 branches of service. But it was underfunded during the Clinton years, and so that didn't happen. And those full-size GATs were also always used for the employment of some less lethal technologies that were starting to develop, and or gas. And little bit of experience, like one trip with seeing if it was feasible, kind of a la the Blowers technique of running a full-size shoddy for both anti-personnel and ballistic breaching and going back and forth. And, the end result was enemy always gets a boat. And so we can talk about that later. The shotgun can absolutely do some pretty amazing things if you know that that's what that shotgun is going to have to need to be able to do. So,
Wow, I think that's the nicest you've ever said anything about shotguns.
I know. I'm speechless.
It's heartfelt.
It is.
And then we have that Adam guy.
Oh, that Adam guy. I'm Adam Roth of Aridus Industries. I make some shotgun accessories, and pretty early on in the R&D process, I kind of came to the pretty stern realization of, if I'm going to be making this stuff, I better know how to use it. And I've taken an above average number of shotgun classes. I think I'm at 9 or 10 in like the last 3 years. And I do a lot of training. Every single class, obviously, I'm picking up on something new. So there's good personal development, from that aspect. But kind of certainly learned a few things just putting a lot of rounds downrange for R&D purposes as well. So it's been a pretty fun journey. I didn't really intentionally set out to go that specific direction, but 1 or 2 classes in, and I got pretty hooked, and then combined with all the terminal ballistics of everything, and makes sense to me.
And I honestly think the products that you make and some of the things, I don't know if they're completed yet, but some of the other things, those are some of the aspects that for me make shotguns that much more appealing. It is good stuff. It's effective. They're effective options. It's increasing capability. It's great. And we're definitely going to have to delve into that. We're going to have to talk about some of your stuff and compare it to what else is out there and pros and cons.
Yeah. I don't know how much I'll let other people call other product out by name. I kind of usually try to avoid that specific sort of thing. But yeah. I mean, that's certainly one of the initial ideas behind a lot of the stuff that I make is just trying to bring more usability to shotguns in general. So, yeah.
Then we have that Steve guy. I guess he likes shotguns. There's some videos of him on the internet of him shooting shotguns or something.
Yeah, I grew up with a shotgun in my hand. My old man was big on bird hunting and waterfowl hunting. I grew up in a big hunting family. My first shotgun was a single shot H&R 20 gauge at the age of 7. I've had them in my hand my entire life in one form or fashion or another, and I think it's probably the most underrated gun we've got.
And misunderstood.
And misunderstood, yeah. So, Steve, before we went live officially, you said some things about Rob.
Yes. So one of the other gentlemen here on the panel tonight, Rob Haught, amazing gentleman, amazing shotgunner. One of the very few people that early on in my own careers as an instructor, Rob was one of those guys. I obviously cut my teeth under a great man, Louis Auerbach, fantastic little South African fellow that was amazing with shotgun. Some time on the gauge with Bill Jeans and some other people in between that. Rob, and the funny thing is that all the years I've never been able to link up with Rob and get a class. Followed Rob, I've talked to Rob, I've had conversations with Rob, I've quoted Rob, but Rob is one of the very few individuals in this family that we have called the community that I actually have an utmost amount of respect for. Great man, great shotgunner, amazing talent, just a good dude overall.
Awesome. And so, Rob.
Hey, guys. I guess I'm like a lot of you all. I grew up with a shotgun. My first shotgun was a Ivor Johnson 20 gauge single shot that was passed down from my dad, and grew up hunting with that. My next shotgun, I guess, was an 870. Went into law enforcement 32 years ago, and of course, the shotgun is the most iconic, prevalent support weapon in American law enforcement today, and has been forever. And I kind of found that I had a little bit of a talent for it. Started shooting competitive pistol back IPSC around 1982. And a lot of the local matches would have speed side shoots. You could pay $1 a run, and at the end of the day, it was like a 50-50 shoot. The club would get some money, and whoever won would get some money. So there was a select group of us that were shooting pistol competition that really kind of looked forward to the side shoot as much as anything. And what grew out of that was an offer to come down and show what I was doing to a certain 3-letter government agency. And that just morphed into a career, basically. And I was like, yeah, I can go to Quantico if you want me to, but who in the world am I, small town podunk police officer, to show you guys anything? And Steve, you're going to love this. First time I go down, I go into the team room, go into the looks like an NFL locker room, equipment room, and get introduced to a guy that's a sniper. And I'm thinking, oh, this guy's cool, because these guys all run through the Marine Corps Scout Sniper School, so I'm thinking this guy is at least fairly competent. And they're all Type A personality guys, as we all know. So this guy gets up in my face and says, "Hey, dude, you're the shotgun guy that's going to be here Monday, right?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." He says, "Got a question for you, dude. Do you know how to adjust a rear sight on an 870 slug gun?"
And I'm thinking to myself, this has got to be some kind of a trick question, right? And I wasn't sure how to answer that. And I kind of looked at this guy and I said, well, yeah, I mean, Matt was about 7 at that time. And I think, he could have done that. And I thought, yeah, matter of fact, I do. And the guy goes, well, great, man, because, Monday, deer season comes in here on the base, and I've got my personal shotgun in the car, and if you're going out to the range, you think you could help me get a 0? So I'm like, yeah, I'd be happy to, So we go out, and we're playing around on a pistol range, and here comes this dude literally carrying a shotgun, a box of slugs, and a bullseye target. So he comes out, and we take a shot at about 25 yards or so. And, of course, it's off to the left. So you get your little Leatherman out and drift the sight over and shoot. Well, I'm in the black. I said, hey, I think we're there, bro. So I hand him his shotgun, and he fires a couple shots, and he's in the black. And he is literally genuinely appreciative. I mean, that wasn't a BS question or anything, or wasn't a stupid question. My little furry buddy there. But I thought to myself right at that point, I think I'm going to be okay here.
Yeah. I'd say so.
I think I got this, right? So we do the little program, and they say, hey, okay, thanks. So I'm driving home. Days later, I haven't heard a word. So I call my point of contact back, and I said, hey, what'd they think? Oh, hey, man, it's great. They want you to come back and do another thing for the whole team and yada, yada, yada. So that whole thing, that little chance encounter of adjusting the rear sight on a slug gun has morphed into a long association with shotgun training and teaching around the country. And it's given a poor old country boy from a small podunk department the opportunity to travel all over this country and meet a lot of good people and have a lot of fun with it. But that's kind of how I got started in this whole thing.
That is awesome. So I have a question for the entire panel, and I guess I'm going to have to go one by one. Ideally, for a combat weapon, for home defense, we've discussed this with carbines, how would you optimally want to set up your personal shotgun? What caliber? Pump, semi-auto, a brand? Tim, what do you think?
My personal go-to is a Beretta 1301 Tactical. I load it up with #1 flight control, and I have a light on it. And I have a Nordic +2 extension on it as well. It's light. It handles really, really fast. You don't have to worry about, even though I'm pretty good with a pump gun, the gun will feed itself, so I don't have to worry about that. And I've put probably about 3,000 rounds through Beretta 1301s at this point, through my tube, and I've never had a problem with it. And I've put it in the hands of lots of other people, and they've been able to, even very, very small people like Scott's wife, they've been able to run the gun very, very effectively with no problem. It's I don't think it gets any better than that.
You know, it's interesting also how you said about it being an auto loader. I've seen that video a couple times of Mercer choking on the pump gun, and this is Chad Mercer. He's a gun guy. Yeah, with add a little bit of stress and a little bit of unfamiliarity, and you're gonna have a bad time.
I'm going to tell
you know who else choked on the pump gun? Kurt Cobain. So
That's true.
I'm going to tell a little story. The first time I encountered Rob Haught was at the Fort Harmar range. And he was amazing with a shotgun, but I watched even Rob Haught go short stroke at 870, and that made an impression with me. It's like, if the king of pump action shotguns can do that, I'm probably not batting in his league. So, maybe a semi-auto is a better choice for me.
I don't know. Should we ask for a rebuttal? I don't want to pull my spot.
For what it's worth, I'm running a pump gun purely because I already have some and I'm cheap.
That's a good excuse.
No, in all seriousness, I've used them for long enough that I've become accustomed to them. But if I was pointing a new shooter at a shotgun, run a semi. Less things to go wrong.
So what is the setup of your pump gun then?
So I've got an old 870p. I've got an old Laser Products era Surefire 4-end on it with an upgraded bulb assembly. That's still the most ergonomic way I found of using a light on a shotgun. It's heavy. It's not exactly the highest speed thing, but it feels the best for me. Running a set of Wilson Ghost Rings on it, or I should say Wilson Ghost Ring front, and then Adams Crom mount with a T1 on it. Put a Magpul buttstock on it. GG&G sling plate. Stoke it up with flight control #1 buck. I like running a +2 extension on mine just because I'm a capacity whore. But
makes sense, especially with that configuration. Well, shotguns in general, unless it's mag-fed, you are going to have a lot less capacity.
Yep. Oh, and I'm also running Adams side saddle as well. Love that setup.
Yeah.
We love you.
How about you?
Pretty much the same as Matt. I'm running an 870 12 gauge. 90% of the time in the classes, that's class is kind of based on the mechanics and the whatnot of running a pump gun. But I prefer a short stock. I think that's the biggest single modification anybody can do when they first get a shotgun is make sure they get a good fit with it. For the first 3 years, I kind of poo-pooed, kind of poo-pooed the Magpul stock. I walked by and I looked at it and I went, yeah, looks like a homosexual device. It's going in all directions. And,
right. I think I remember that phone call.
Yeah. So I had a chance at a class, I think it's San Francisco, I did a class, and a guy had one there. And I said, okay, let me see the damn thing. So I shot it a little bit, and I went, whoa. The ergonomics of that thing are awesome. So now all of my guns have Magpul stocks on. I prefer a short side saddle. Back in the day, we used to take a hacksaw to the tack strike side saddle and cut them in two so that we had a 3-round side saddle. Allows me to get my hand on the receiver to do certain manipulations, okay? Yep. When they came out with a factory 4-round, I said, hey, I can live with that. Surefire 4-end, different generations of it going back to the first one. I like the earlier models better than the latest one by far. I asked the guys at Surefire, I said, did anybody ever put this thing on a gun and actually shoot it? Or to just carve it out of a piece of plastic and sell it. I don't like the newest gens. I use the Scattergun Technology sights. Adams Crom is the next level of sight systems for shotguns. I'm excited about that. Slings, I use a Vickers sling most of the time. I do a mod with the rear sight that I'll cut the top off of the aperture and use, I call it the friendly ghost. I use a big exaggerated U-notch. I'm sure we'll talk about mods here later on a little bit more in depth, but I kind of think that a ghost ring sight is a compromise sight. Mm-hmm. I think it gives you most of the speed of a bead. It gives you most of the precision of rifle sights. Cutting the top off of the aperture for me increases the speed, but gives me enough point of reference in the back that I can be effective with slots. Mm-hmm. I think the flight control line of ammo is the neatest thing since sliced bread. I I have seen this ammo develop over the years, and up until the last 15 years, 20 years, nobody ever went to the ammunition companies and asked them to do anything with shot shells. And we're seeing a lot more. Nobody ever spec'd anything. Big agencies would go and they would spec out what they wanted for their pistol ammo performance-wise, but nobody really paid much attention to shot shells, and consequently, manufacturers really didn't do anything with it. But I like a 14-inch barrel 870. Those of you that live in an NFA-friendly state, once you handle a shorter shotgun, everything else feels a little bit clumsy. But that's basically how I set mine up.
Very cool, especially the cutting the ghost ring. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know if we can zoom in on one here with this thing, but I've got one here. I can show you exactly what it looks like.
Now, do you have your own aftermarket sights that you produce, or is this just a mod you do?
I've had a long-standing relationship with Bill Wilson and Scattergun Technology since Bill first bought the company from Roger Small. And I've consulted with him quite a bit, and we actually kind of have an unofficial Rob model shotgun that if somebody calls down to Wilson and says, hey, I want one like Rob does, they'll produce it. Here's I don't know if you guys can see this thing or not.
Yeah.
But it's just real simple, and if you ask them to do that, they'll do that for you and send you out the top part of the site. You can buy that from them. But also, I kind of like a big safety. Bang has with the big dome. I like that about as good as anything out there. Wilson's come up with their version of this. It looks like a beehive. It's got the little grooves in it. But again, 4-round side saddle. And I like a one-shot extension.
Thank you.
I think everything else makes the shotgun really interesting.
Nope, we're having the audio issue again.
Okay. I like the one round just for the balance aspect of it. And personally, when I run the shotgun, I leave that space in the mag tube empty. I leave one round of dead tube space empty. It makes slug transitions a whole lot simpler.
Interesting.
In my line of work, if I can't get the job done, with 5 rounds in the gun, I didn't bring enough friends. So if I need to transition to a slug, it's real simple. Load the slug into the mag tube, cycle the action, and shoot the slug. It's a little bit smoother, a little bit faster. But that's basically how I have my gun set up.
Chuck, should we even bother calling on you?
No, not really. No, I did when I was coming into the Army. No, after I joined the Army a few years I'd been in. It was just before the assault weapons ban. I really, really wanted a Benelli for whatever reason. I just thought Benellis were the shit. I didn't really know anything about guns. So I bought a Springfield Armory M1A, brand new, off another kid in the Ranger Barracks. And I had it for a while. I didn't have a scope for it, but I had optics. This is before I realized that M14s do in fact give you lymphoma. And so I ended up selling the Springfield Armory M1A, which looking back in hindsight, I should have held on to it because it was an assault weapons ban item. So the cost would have gone wildly up. I should have bought my Benelli on a credit card and sucked it up because the money that I made off selling the Springfield Armory would have been more. But I sold the Springfield Armory M1A and I bought an M1 Super 90. And I put a Surefire Scout forearm on it, the old incandescent one, and then replaced it and went up to LED at some point. It's got some bead fixed sights at one time, or some blade sights, not ghost rings. at one point I had a side saddle on there, and then I replaced it with one of those Velcro thingies that lets you hold strips of shotguns from some Velcro some other place. And if I have to reload it, I would probably use one of those California Competition California, I don't know, the giant cigarette pack that holds the shotgun thingy sideways, and you pull them out like that, as opposed to the one that has all the little like ATV gun rack looking clippy thingies that you put the thingies in.
Getting into the real technical terms.
Yeah. And then, you know, obviously because I'm untrained in the use of the shotgun, other than, you know, I have come across it at various multi-gun matches in the past, and it's like, oh, look, this thing's in the barrel. This is going to be funny. And then shit goes everywhere, whatever. You know, somebody once made me do an El Prez with an AK-47 and a Smith & Wesson 29. So, I mean, I'm used to seeing crazy. But seriously, because of the fact that I'm untrained in the ways of the gauge, I would just put in whatever Steve told me to in terms of load and or party pack, whatever I could find. And then, you know, if I needed to use the Benelli on somebody, they'd probably get in a little combination of some 7 steel shot for the duck, little low brass 8 for some fucking poppers, some flight control, and I don't know, maybe a Hatton round. I don't know. I got nothing. That's it. Oh wait, and this is my wife's gauge. So she's got a better gauge than I do. So my last thing about gauges is I have tried to raise money for special operations veterans. You guys know about, a lot of you guys know about Dave Kramer and the Special Operations Care Fund, SOC-F. They run 2 charity sporting clays events. So now I have to not only shoot a fucking shotgun, but I have to shoot it at flying shit. In order to pay it back to my community and raise money for my brothers. So when I do that, I use these, and apparently I don't look at the sights or something. That's what I got. That's all I got. So.
Well, I think this is the first time we've ever had you at such a loss. This is awesome. And also, just for those of you listening or watching, everything he just said is horrible. Don't ever listen to that. Listen to the other guys on this panel. This might be the only time. Even I know. Party pack, no, bad.
Chuck, bringing back Dutch loading.
You know, I'm just gonna keep pulling the trigger. At that point, I am all about making shooting teams' lives interesting.
Eventually you'll get somewhere good.
When the orange cones come out, like, I want them motherfuckers to have to sit down and collaborate on some shit. Oh, we have a serial crusher theory. I don't want that shit being cut and dry. We got to keep it real at the active crime scene. So.
One guy with 6 guns.
I'm just hoping that whenever this gets edited up into like 5-minute clips, anything, you know, with Chuck's recommendations, there's some context added to it all.
No, just a long beep.
Yep.
You can't hear anything he says.
Rounds.
There you go. That and the flame dragons, whatever breath.
Yes.
Oh God.
So Adam, since we have you here, how do you have your gun set up?
Yeah, so you know, it's interesting. Before I ever started doing any training, man, I hit like every stop on the derp train. It you know, I had I'm not even gonna like name this stuff just because it was so bad. But yeah, I was pretty much, you know, in the same mindset that Rob was, you know, regarding the Magpul stock. Like, I'd seen it and I was like, man, that is one ugly looking thing. I don't think so. And man, first time I handled it, pretty much the next day I had my order in, and I'm, you know, completely setting up my shotgun's totally different. So yeah, I think that the Magpul stock's one of the best things to ever happen to shotguns, honestly. So yeah, I mean, I've got that on everything I could put it on. And yes, I mean, currently I've kind of paid my dues on pump guns, I feel. So, you know, the Beretta 1301 with flight control is it's a pretty tough combination to beat. But, you know, so obviously I'm probably biased as far as setting it up with my own stuff. But honestly, part of the other thing is it's kind of twofold. You know, the 1301 is still pretty new to the market, so there's not a lot of aftermarket support for it. And, you know, I'm kind of to the point where it's like, well, if I want something and it doesn't exist, you know, that's not really going to stop me anymore. So, you know, putting some of my own stuff on it and coming up with stuff specifically for the 1301, you know, and one of the biggest things is, you know, an adapter to be able to put one of those Magpul stocks on it. And so, yeah, I mean, it gives a much shorter length of pull, which is really, really nice. You know, the factory stock on the 1301 isn't bad. It's better than most factory stocks, but yeah, I mean, the shorter length of pull, you know, sling attachment points that are already built into the stock. It's got, you know, better ergonomics. You know, just a big plug for for the SGA. But yeah, I mean, that's a great stock. So, and man, I'll tell you, I've become a much bigger fan of having a red dot on it if I can. I mean, you know, kind of like I said, I put in my dues with a pump gun and, you know, with bead sights and ghost ring sights, and now it's like, man, I just want it to be as easy as it can be on myself. So, you know, running a semi-auto with a red dot, you know, and you'll load it with flight control, and you know, you're gonna have some pretty good success.
And you know, I've heard nothing but good things about that 1301, and because of that, that might need to be my next gun. Excuse me. Yeah, I've heard 1301. Blowers is a big fan. As a matter of fact, I was hoping he'd be here, but yeah, he's a busy kind of guy.
Yeah.
So, what light are you using, if any?
On the 1301 right now, I've got a Phoenix. I'm pretty sure it's a TK15. You know, I've been a pretty big fan of using handheld lights on my long guns, and you know, up until some of Surefire's recent teases. You know, obviously I recognize that they're good quality, but, you know, they've just been, you know, lacking in a lot of other departments, especially for the price that you pay for them. You know, that being said, whenever the, you know, this 1500 lumen Scout comes out, that's going to be what I'm going to jump on for sure. But, yeah, I've got a Nordic +2 extension on both of my 1301s. And then on one of them, I've got a rail piece that goes to the barrel and extension clamp that I've got just like a 1-inch scope ring that I use to mount the handheld light to. And then, you know, the other 1301 has a prototype on it. So, you know, running a light on that too. Yes, Steve, I see your finger pointing.
Considering
I know what it is. I'm going to tell everybody.
Considering what you said too about being able to solve these problems, I am surprised that there isn't a public weapon light mount from you yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's kind of funny. You know, I mean, most people that are aware of me have, you know, kind of followed me from early on and recognize that, you know, I'm not some big company. I'm like literally a one-man operation. So, you know, just kind of prioritizing things, you know, gets tricky. And so, you know, I've got a number of different ideas that I want to move on as far as light mounting solutions for a 1301, but, you know, there's only so many hours in a day. So, you know, everything's getting dialed in where hopefully time will start freeing up that I can, you know, move forward on some of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, you know, to appease Steve a little bit, you know, there's basically a prototype 4-end adapter to be able to use a Magpul AK Zukov 4-end on the 1301, and that's got some M-lock sections on it that I'm able to, you know, mount a rail piece to. So, you know, I don't know if that'll ever come to market, but it's being looked into the best that I can. So we'll see.
Very cool. Very cool. Lee Gullett just commented on chat. Prototype? This is a safe space. I don't know about that. And Steve, if you had one go-to, because I know you have a lot of firearms, if we just discussed your one go-to, how would you what's the setup on that?
If I could only pick the one, because I have shotguns all throughout the house. I live rural. I've got them, for killing coyotes and critters and all kinds of weird stuff around the place. My defensive shotguns are set up pretty much Magpul furniture on my 870s, although I have a lot of 1301s. I've worked with Beretta through development cycles on 1301s to the point of 4 different variations right now. 18-inch barreled 870, vent rib, vane comp, Magpul furniture, running, some form, fashion, or another of a weapon light from Surefire on the gun, or even some of them have the Surefire 4s, the old school, with a P2X Fury installed that bumps up to 600 lumens and 3 cells. My sighting system is a little different than most. A lot of my guns, I've got 1301s with the Crom on them. I don't have one for an 870 yet because Adam keeps neglecting me. Side saddles are the Aridus Industries side saddles. A +1 extension on them. Big fan of the +1 from Vane Comp as well. But my sights, I run a vent rib gun that has pistol sights installed. Trijicon XDs to be exact. Set up to the same focal band as my pistol sights are at full extension. That are milled into the rib. Specific height setup requirements. They will hit basically a 6-inch box for 0 out to 50 yards. And yeah, that's what I rock. Big dome safety from Vane Comp follower. Pretty much where I live with that particular gun.
Cool.
I have various guns with red dots, and I love them. And my load, believe it or not, I'm a huge flight control guy. My house guns do not run flight control. I've got a whole different principle and theory behind it. I run pretty much stock box Remington 870 Express 9 pellet.
Cool.
And there's reasons.
Yeah. So let's see here. I have a whole list of questions for you guys. I think I'm gonna shotgun this out for whoever wants to answer it, and then build upon that. There. Yes. And so here's my throwaway question that I just thought of it, and I think it's funny. Shockwave, is there any purpose to it other than breaching? Okay, I didn't think so.
Yes.
So the real question.
Yes. Yes.
Trick shooting? What?
No. So I've got a few dudes that I know that live on boats, confined space, can't deal with the NFA headaches because they travel a lot. I got dudes who live in RVs that travel around the country and do the traveling roadshow thing, or just like to be snowbirders. Shockwave, that little shorty gun has merit for them inside those capacities. Limited, but it has merit.
It's silly.
Yep, but it has merit. It still works. It can be silly.
Right. I mean, that was the original concept behind the witness protection gun. That you want something that's a lot more powerful than a pistol, but you can't look like you got a gun. And at the kind of ranges they were using them at, inside hotel room distances, that kind of thing. Yeah. And especially today when you can put something like lasers or something on it effectively with the right technique, it would not be my first choice by any stretch of the imagination. Correct.
Well, let's go to a real question then. In a lot of these discussions, I see 20 gauge come up. With my background, I'm only really interested in 12 because that's what I'm more familiar with. What are some of the points in using 20 versus 12? I can think of maybe size or stature of the shooter.
Yeah. It's more difficult to set a 20 up, I think, in terms of ammo selection. There are loads out there. Fisher linked to some time ago that pretty much there's an 8-pellet load that replicates pretty much the 8-pellet flight control load in terms of the ballistics. If you can get a 20 gauge set up right and you can feed it that kind of ammo, I'm 100% on board with it, but it's going to take more time, more knowledge, and more money.
I tried that a number of years ago. That question came up, and I had a 20 gauge 870 built down at Scattergun, and mimic from years ago, but basically had a 20 set up just like the Big Brother, short youth stock, long extension. Had a guy fabricate a sling plate for it. Got a 4-round side saddle. Got it basically set up like its Big Brother. Had some feeding issues at first. Matt's gotten that worked on and figured out. The folks at Bangkok pretty much unscrewed that thing up and got it viable.
The actual feeding issue was I shot it so much that I wore the shell stops out. So I just had them replace it. No big deal.
But yeah, I think it's got a little bit of merit, for a female, short statured, small guy. Again, the accessories, the aftermarket support is not there for the 20 like it is the 12, but and ammo is problematic as well. But here's a living example of one, and this goes back.
So
15 years.
This was actually my first shotgun. It was just a Express Wally World Special that I grew up on with as a little kid. And Dad used as a test bed for 20 gauge social net.
Yeah. Nope, your audio just had an issue.
Yeah, Matt went off to college and I stole it.
Nice.
And now that it's nice, he stole it back.
Right. So,
my daughter has a Cricket 22. I don't think I'm going to steal that from her though. When she goes to college, and she's 7. So
one of the things with the 20 gauge is a lot of guys will talk about different recoils. The recoil is not any lighter on a 20. To be brutally honest, the only thing you're really getting truly is a weight savings in the overall platform of the gun itself. It's more convenient to carry. It may be more convenient for a barricade gun in a room. If you've got to hold the gun for an extended period of time for small statured people, women, children, small frame men, elderly, whatever the case is, but you're not gaining anything realistically by going down to a 20 other than a weight savings measure.
Right, because physics is physics. And if you're pushing the same payload out of the gun, it's going to have about the same impact on the other side. And one of the great enduring myths of shotguns, people think you have to shove 3-inch magnums in a 12 gauge to get the kind of results that you're hoping for in terms of stopping a threat. But truly, if you're setting your gun up properly and you're loading it properly, the low recoil loads that you can get for a 12 gauge are already kind of overkill. So we don't need to cram the biggest dang shell we can find in the gun. And when you start looking at the low recoil loads in the 12 gauge, you start looking at the extra weight on the 12 gauge. If you can handle it, it actually gives you a little less recoil than some of the 20 gauge setups can.
That whole velocity mass kind of thing is weird, strange.
Physics be a harsh mistress.
True. Chuck's over there like, hey, just put another magazine in the carbine, dog.
Guys are
for
hurting.
those of you, what was that?
You guys are hurting me. Jesus.
I was going to say, for those of you listening at home and can't see this, Chuck is just shaking his head no.
Looks like a defeated man.
I know.
I know. It's a simple matter of, beware of an old guy with a fucking wheel gun kind of situation. Like, there are operating systems that are harder to be proficient with than others. And everybody wants to default to the shotgun as, oh, it's easy, just point in the general direction. I mean, we know all that bullshit. But the reality is that it's more like being a wheel gunner in that you need to conclude this fight without a reload. And then if you get into reload time, now you better have put in the reps, or you're doubly fucked. And so, to me, this argument is kind of no different than lady, sight unseen, at the shooting range for the first time ever. If you slap a 1911, a Glock, and a SIG 226 on the table, bitch is gonna shoot the 1911 the best. I don't give a fuck who you are. It's science. Gun. It is science. And so if you need someone to shoot those other platforms, and Ernie Langdon can pick up a SIG 226 and run it to death, but Ernie had to train because that system is not inherently naturally as easy to use as some of the other systems. So we can put lethality aside and put all these other things aside. A gauge to be the man. If you want to be the man, you got a lot of reps in there. It's an unforgiving platform to be able to use. Splitting fingernails, blood coming out, got to get some shit dehorned. Give me my fucking glove back. I mean, there's some stuff going on with that gun.
I got a story about that
gun, man. Yeah, man, I get it. Like, anybody that says, shotguns are stupid has never seen somebody like get laid the fuck open with one. Shotguns are definitely not stupid when they're in the right place against the right bad guy at the right range with a dude that knows how to use one. Like, I wouldn't want to get shot with a 357. Don't mean I don't want to carry it, that I would carry the motherfucker. But yeah, if you let me run into a 67-year-old angry white man with a 357 wheel gun in an alley, I'm gonna be scareder than a motherfucker. Because I know he's probably gonna split my wig if I don't fucking move immediately, if not sooner. And so guys that embrace the gauge, whether it be for legal reasons or whatever, or nostalgic reasons or practical physics reasons. Once you go down the road that these guys are talking, you just got to know that. You got to know that. And to slap a gauge in a chick's hand, to me, is every bit criminal as slapping a J-frame in a chick's hand and saying, go, pat her on the head, do some mansplaining, and send her off to fucking protect her casa. You're not doing her any favors with either one of those platforms. So that's my spiel.
Yeah, the shotgun definitely requires, to use it successfully from a either law enforcement, civilian, or even military context, it requires more knowledge up front to get what you need out of the gun. Thankfully, the typical civilian need is fairly simple. And, with handguns, we can say, I need a handgun. You could look at somebody and say, buy a Glock 19 and put HST or gold dots in it, and you're probably good to go. It's a lot more difficult, or at least it has been, to do that with a shotgun. But these days, it's a little easier because we have flight control, right? So I can say, use flight control, either #1 or double aught. It will probably work really well in whatever you stuff it in. The actual shotgun, because of Remington's deplorable quality control of late, I'm more confident saying, here's a 1301 tactical loaded with flight control. You're probably, from an equipment and ammo perspective, you're probably good to go. Yeah. Pump guns, my thing on pump guns, I grew up using them, right? And most of us on this grew up using them. So to us, if you've been using an 870 with a full length of pull and all that stuff since you were taught, it's pretty easy for you to get into that. But when I put one in the hand with somebody who's new to shotguns, it's really difficult for them to run it, especially if I start putting them on a clock or under any level of stress. So I have sort of like a hierarchy of recommendations. I tend to recommend the semi-auto more because it's easier for more people to use effectively than the pump gun. The pump gun requires more sustainment training and more learning initially to really get good with using it. Now, once you get good with it, you can use it like a surgeon, like some of these folks on the podcast can. And then my top level of proficiency, bead-sided pump shotgun, you can do some good work with one if you have the basis of training to do it with, and if you keep up the consistent practice. But that's probably, in my estimation, and anybody can feel free to go at me on this, that's the hardest thing to get someone to be able to use to the level of proficiency I want to see in a home defense gun.
No, I agree with that. I think one of the biggest issues, this is kind of how I've looked at it for a while, is I think that people confuse familiarity with ease of use. I mean, yeah, sure, I grew up, small game hunting with a shotgun, and I think a lot of people say, oh yeah, I mean it's simple to use and this and that, and I guess technically it sort of is, and people have been around them, and I mean, man, pump action shotguns are probably at least one of the most common firearms on the planet, and so everybody's around them, and so I think that helps drive the myth that they're easy or effective to use, and they can be, but yeah, I mean they take just a way higher level of training to actually be proficient with them, way more than a lot of people realize.
I liken them to a stick shift transmission in the front.
Yes.
A lot of us grew up driving stick. I did. I enjoy driving stick, but you take somebody that's never done it, put them in a car with an automatic transmission, they're going to learn better faster without having to putz around with working with the stick, working the clutch.
There's a physical strength and dexterity element to it too. I mean, to run a pump shotgun effectively, somebody's going to be the weak one in the relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Shotgun's going to push people around if they don't really aggressively drive it, if they don't aggressively work that action to feed those big, heavy, awkward shells, right? And some people just don't have, because they're not built like Steve Fisher, they don't have the incredible level of upper body strength to be able to do that, or even reach. I did a counselor or a training session with Scott and his wife, and that pump shotgun, even with a shortened length of pull, her arm is at full extension. Even when the pump the slide is all the way back, it's difficult for someone her size to generate the kind of force necessary to really run that gun hard. She can certainly do it, and she's stronger than your average woman of that size, but it's just harder for her to get there.
I think a lot of that too. We start looking at things like that. It's the short stuff.
Yes.
And that really helps.
Absolutely.
With that. Here's the thing with the shotgun. I know people have said it before. It's a violent weapon. You got to treat it like a fat ex-wife. It's always hungry and always angry and violent, and you've got to treat it as such. It constantly needs to be fed, and it constantly needs to be manhandled. Rob knows exactly what I'm talking about. I had to get that in.
So what would be some warnings then you would give people that are new to weapons, that they're thinking about, they're going to get a shotgun for home defense? What are some pointers you'd give them beyond, go this direction? No, they're going to get a shotgun. What do they do? Obviously, they need to get some form of training. What should they be expecting? They should expect most of the shotguns that are on the shelf today to be set up completely wrong for what they want to do. You like said, you definitely, absolutely need that shorter length of pull to use the gun in the defensive context, right? Because when you're shooting bird loads with a 14-inch length of pull stock, you can afford to have that positioning way out on your shoulder, and it doesn't do too much problem. But you're never going to run the gun as effectively as we need to, because ultimately, what we're trying to, the shotgun isn't magic. We're trying to hit the exact same stuff with the shotgun to stop a threat that we would hit with a rifle or with a pistol. And there ain't much we're aiming for. We're aiming for that triangle of doom between the suprasternal notch and the nipples, or we're aiming for the CNS. We have to be precise with this thing, and being precise rapidly, because we can expect, if it's a home defense gun, your typical home invasion is involving multiple people that are armed. So we have to be able to engage multiple targets quickly, accurately, and effectively. And most of the guns you see on store shelves aren't set up for that. Now, thankfully, they're starting to ship Mossbergs and Remingtons and stuff with the Magpul furniture already pre-installed. That's helpful. But most of the guns, their stocks are too long.
They're shipping with bead sights, and like I said, you can do quality work with a bead, but it's harder, and it requires you having that rock solid mount every single time you bring the gun up to use it effectively. Not a big deal if you've been doing it since you were 10. If you're just new to the gun, a very big deal. And you have to actually have some idea of how it patterns with the ammunition you're going to use in it.
Anyone else?
I think,
Oh, audio. Yeah.
yeah, got me. I think there's probably more misconceptions and myths regarding the shotgun than any of the other weapon systems.
Absolutely.
You know, and you can talk to just about any good old boy or anybody, and you know, like Tim said, the theory that you can't miss with the shotgun, you point it in the general direction and slap the trigger, and 6 or 7 people fall down. And it's, you know, I like to say in my classes, I said, it's not hard to hit the target with the shotgun. It's just real easy to miss.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing that we come by. And then you've got the ever-present, well, all I have to do is rack the slide on the shotgun and they wet their pants. You know, you have that to deal with. But I would tell them that if they, you know, go someplace, get some training, get some good advice on how to set a shotgun up. If they're not willing to spend the money to accessorize an existing one, there's a few on the market that they can come pretty close to what they need with. But the main thing is, don't think that it's going to be a magic wand and it's like any other firearm. But it's probably the most destructive of all of our weapon systems. You know, I don't think you get as much for a single pull of the trigger with anything else as you do with the shotgun. You know, think about in terms of a 8 or 9, depending upon your load, an 8 or a 9 round burst from an MP5 every time you pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So if you look at the average person that seeks this kind of advice, you know, you kind of think to yourself, you know, I don't want to steer them down the wrong path, or I don't want to dissuade them from doing this or that. But if they got their mind made up on a shotgun, they need to. There's a few things that they need to expect from it, and know, you know, they may have to go the extra distance, not just buy it and load it and put it in the closet.
Right. And something on the topic of training, it's not at all a bad idea to, before you even buy a shotgun, see if you can get yourself into a training class, because I'm sure all of us here are trained. We all have a plethora of shotguns, and I loan out to students, and I'm sure the other guys do too. If you get the chance to go to a course and see how everybody's stuff is set up, get a chance to play with a couple of different setups, that'll really go a long way to helping you decide what you need to do if you want to use a shotgun as a home defense weapon, or for whatever other context that you're using it in.
Well, I'm sure we all have a big box at home full of holsters we'll never use again, or accessories that we didn't like. We've spent a small fortune on that shit. And the accumulated knowledge that's on this panel right now, if somebody would come and we would say, yeah, this is what you got to get. You're saving these people a ton of aggravation and money, and they're benefiting from our experience of weeding through all the good and the bad stuff out there. And just, you know, go to a class, go to a good instructor, and take his advice. Take that to heart, because he's doing you a big favor. That's why you're spending your money to go to school, and you know, he'll save you from, you know, buy once, cry once kind of thing.
You know, we talk about this a lot, and you know, Rob touched on a great point about you know messing with a shotgun. I know Rob has seen it. I know Tim has seen it. I know I have seen it. Adam's been in class while we've done it. I've told guys in class, you know, hey, we're shooting steel. We're working at your maximum house engagement distances, call it 7 yards, 10 yards, whatever the case is. I said, you will miss with a load of 1 1/4 ounce to 1 ounce of 7 bird shot at this distance if you don't aim a damn gun. I'm telling you, you're throwing 495 pellets at a BC zone piece of steel, and you are going to miss. And I don't know. I'm like, hey, dog, you threw that entire shot column right over the top of the target, because you weren't getting on the gun. You weren't mounting the gun properly. You weren't reading the sights correctly. It's just like a pistol. You've got to be on them. You've got to use them. And this is something that I come back to in the class. And Adam shakes his head every time I talk about it. But this is why, for the average end user of a shotgun who's going to take it out once every 3 years or so, I'm not a big proponent of flight control. I look for a shot pattern that's going to deliver. Rob, just there it is. And I look for a shot pattern at their maximum distance when we're doing patterning of guns that is going to deliver approximately 5 inches at their end range distance. And
you might as well shoot a carbine.
Exactly at that point, right? You might as well.
You turn your shotgun into a carbine.
Exactly, and you might as well be shooting slugs then and deal with the recoil. And what I explain to people is this. I am a person, Rob is a person, Tim is a person, and these other guys here in this panel. We live with this gun constantly. It's not out of my hands more than, once a month. It's in my hands getting work done with it. And for the average person, if they know the pattern of the gun, they find a load for their maximum range in their house, their structure, for what we talk about with our average users. Dude, I need a shotgun that's going to throw me about a 5-inch pattern, roughly even 6, at 7 to 10 yards, where I can have pattern density, pattern overlay, low light shooting, shooting on the move, shooting things that are moving while I'm moving, increasing my potential of hit capability for maximum lethality in the least amount of time, and minimal aiming reference because of the aiming errors that will occur based on their use of the shotgun.
With sufficient penetration.
Right.
Absolutely.
And the key there is pattern density and concentration. Because I had about 50% of the shotguns in my home defense class, the last session of it, they shot just freaking donut hole groups. So if you're not familiar with this, there's a phenomenon where if you have a badly patterning load in your particular gun, it will shoot a halo of shot that will completely avoid the area where you're actually putting the sight and you want to put the pellets. That is what we would term suboptimal, right?
But bro, my Royal Buckshot is good.
Exactly. And that's not helpful, right? And it takes to find the load that's going to work in your gun. If you're going to go with Steve's rubric, which isn't a bad metric to go by, it's perfectly valid. You have to expend the effort to understand, find the buckshot that's going to pattern well in your gun, in your barrel. And here's another little twist on it. The barrel in your gun may not shoot any of it well. You may have to take that barrel to the gun show and get you one that'll do it, or you could send it off to Bang Comp and have them do some work on it, and it will help tremendously. So if you can get that, by all means. If you can't, learn how to use flight control really well.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I tell folks in a class is, if you had a rack of a dozen 870 shotguns and you had 4 different brands of buckshot, none of them would shoot the same well. You'd have 3 that like this, you'd have 2 that like this, you'd have 1 that wouldn't shoot anything well. And, you have to be willing, if you're going to actually dedicate this weapon as your go-to, you have to be willing to spend a little bit of time on the range and spend a few bucks to try different brands of ammo and see what's going to work well in your particular.
The other thing that I've always found interesting with shotguns, this goes back to my days of working with the National Turkey Federation and doing shotgun patterning demos for those guys for years and stuff like that when I was really active with this. The one thing that people do not understand with the shotgun is that if you find something weird starting to happen with your pattern, it's called clean your barrel. Wad fouling is real. That plastic guck that fills that gun is real and will change patterns. And I had a particular couple guns that I would use for demos that, I would not clean, wouldn't do anything with. I'd shoot a demo with it. I'd say, now watch this. I'd run a 10-gauge bore brush, new one, down my 12, dry strip all the plastic fouling and wadding out of that gun, and then shoot it with the same loads out of the same box and watch the patterns come back. Wad fouling is real in a shotgun and needs to be stripped.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As much as I have a religious objection, you got to do it once in a while.
Yeah. Not often.
That leads to another one of the quirks of shotguns is that they require a little more, people load them and sit them in a closet and forget about it. But they honestly, if you use them, they require more tender, loving care and maintenance than an AR-15, say, because that's people's standard. I put a little lube on it now and then, and I can shoot at 10,000 rounds or like Pat Rogers did and have ungodly round counts where all you do is squirt some lube on it. You can't quite get away with that with shotguns.
Some of them are picky. Guys talk about the unreliability of a semi-auto. I'm like, dude, I grew up in a duck blind with an 1100 and an 870 and an A5. I got news for you. I killed a lot of damn ducks without replacing gas rings on my 1100 for years because I didn't know what the hell a gas ring was.
Right.
To the point where the gun still worked when the gas ring was garbage and cruddy and finally fell apart. It just recoiled a lot harder, but the gun still worked.
Right. Yeah, that always annoys me. It's like if you take a mystery bag of ammo that you've accumulated from Lord knows where and Lord knows what, and you want to see what will run through that mystery bag of ammo, yeah, a pump gun may get through it a little easier, but who the hell loads their defensive guns that way? Nobody.
You'd be surprised.
If you have any sense at all, you are going to actually get decent ammo. You're going to test it in your gun to make sure that it works. And if you have a semi-auto and you've done that and you're using good quality ammunition, your gun's fine.
Well, let's take that example. I know Rob and Tim will both agree with this. Semi-autos can be very picky on the ammo. My first initial 1301 was very finicky with flight control till it broke in. Then it would start to even cycle less lethal rounds. Right. My first 1301 that I tested for Beretta, I got thrown into industry class for the actual Beretta company for their guys at a range in Florida, pre-release of the gun. A couple months later, I had taught a couple programs with that gun, some things for them and others. I had close to like 4,200 and some odd rounds for it by the time I made it to Cowtown Range in Arizona for the Well Armed Women Conference, where I got stuck with Beretta going, hey, we've got 80 women that want to learn how to shoot a shotgun. I was like, awesome. Thank you. This is just going to be a nightmare. And it comes back to what you said earlier about gloves. I had a woman literally who got her acrylic nails stuck, tube feeding the gun.
Yep.
To the point where, one, she had an ND as we grabbed the gun because she was freaking out, which was awesome. Two, I had to completely disassemble the gun around her hand.
Yes.
While she was holding onto the gun. Yep. And
that with an
it was funny because
870.
even though, yep. And it was absolutely hysterical. And I was just like losing my mind. But at that point in time, my first 1301 was well over 4,800 odd rounds. The gun stopped working. It finally stopped going into battery. It finally stopped feeding. I took a bottle of water, poured it through the gun, poured a second bottle of water through the gun, squirted some slip on it, shot the shit out of it again right away. The gun is amazing, but again, nuances, little details of the gun and the end user and what they're putting in the gun, including their fingernails.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the easy way, I had issues with that too. People, they get their thumb stuck between the lifter and the follower, and it would sort of pinch. And so what I said was, do that with your thumb, right? If you do that, you're pushing the lifter up with that knuckle, and then comes out smooth as pie. That one's for free.
I always get to put my gloves stuck in there. I've given serious thought to just cutting the very, very tip of my thumb, glove thumb off. Or
you could just man up and load the gun without gloves and stop being such a girl.
Yes.
Look, Matt, we know you're an IT guy and you're a little sensitive about your hands, but stop being a girl. Just saying.
I do this for a living, man.
You don't use your thumb that much.
Money makers.
Spacebar. What do you? Why is Steve giving me advice about typing? He can't do
Exactly.
it.
I can't, but I can load a shotgun without my thumbs getting stuck in it, and my dad ain't Rob Haught.
It's dark and cold outside, Steve. He's a human being with feelings. God damn it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ask me if I care about his feelings. I've drank enough with Matt. I know better.
I don't have any feelings left.
I know. What else we got? Come on, Landfair. Give us something hard about this.
Okay. I know the answer to this. We just need to have you guys finally clear it up because someone's going to want to use it as a soundbite.
No,
People
boy.
staggering ammo in the magazine.
No, 1974 called. Knock that dumb shit off. Jeez.
Right. From speaking from the civilian home defense perspective, I don't even have slugs in my ammo carrier on my gun. I have buckshot all the way because I can accomplish everything I really need to accomplish in the purpose. The shotgun's niche happens to coincide with civilian home defense really, really well. It's great for that purpose. And the best load you can do that with is buckshot. Buckshot gives you the terminal ballistic advantage of a lot of extra tearing from the fact that you have all those projectiles hitting. It's buckshot's a bit like a party. If everybody shows up at about the same time and about the same place, it's a party. Otherwise, it just is lonely and sad, right? So you get the effect of that buckshot, you get extra tearing, you get the wound channels from all the different projectiles, and you have especially if you're using like number one, you have less over-penetration potential than with slugs. Inside your house, you're probably not going to need to shoot through, say, a Buick. All right? Now, law enforcement guys, they may need to shut down a car. They may need to shoot a car engine. They may need to have to shoot through the windshield of a city bus, which is much, much thicker than your typical car windshield. The military guys have maybe some of the same concerns. Chuck can probably talk about that. But for a civilian home defense thing, put good quality buckshot in your gun and leave it the hell alone.
Anyone else have a comment on that? Because that leads perfectly into my next question.
We tried staggering rounds, and the thing is you can overthink it and try to be like Mr. High Speed. But I said that at the beginning of this thing, the enemy always gets a boat, and so we were using breaching cartridges and less lethal in conjunction with one another. So you know that you're going to do a ballistic breach, and you're putting in gas via the shotgun in some type of amalgamation of breaching loads and gas in the same tube, and it just the numbers never worked out, and so you always end up screwing it up or whatever. And like most SWAT guys will be like, oh, 12 gauge gas, that ain't enough gas. I need all the gas. And that's because we've gone really heavy on OC or cold gas, but actual CS liquid and its splatter capacity, the ferret will punch through an interior door of a house and then ricochet and splatter off the floor, and the vapor that comes off of that CS liquid, it's pretty gnarly. Unfortunately, CS and CN have been declared chemical weapons by all of the signatory agencies of the whatever. And so on the DOD side, it literally takes the president's authority to employ CS gas as an incapacitant, not as a riot control agent. So if I want to throw a CS grenade in a house so that everybody is coughing and choking and can't shoot me, and then run to that house and be like, fucking, what's up, bitches? Pop, 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 and tune everybody up, like President of the United States has to authorize that. And then at the beginning of any armed conflict, he delegates down to the lowest level the officer that can make that call on his behalf. In Haiti, it was the highest 06 in the chain of command. So I only had to get a fucking brigade commander on the radio to throw a CS grenade. But in Afghanistan, it took, I believe, task force commander of the task force 199, whatever, that was in charge of Afghanistan. So literally, you had to get in charge of the highest U.S. guy, and with certain exceptions. If you were chasing a dude into a cave, then you had cave ROE. Or if it was a riot control where there was women and kids, then that. So what we found out is after the war started, that this idea of experimenting with incapacitating dudes so that you could affect a mechanical breach without getting shot and stuff like that, that it just didn't meet our ROE. Since we started trying to swap out with OC, which is not a chemical agent under the Geneva Convention, and you need like your buddy's permission to employ it. Like, hey, can I shoot this guy? Let me get upwind. You know, so, but the OC just did not pack. It did not pack the punch when you talk about area dispersal. I'm not saying a can of hot sauce on the grill, Chuck Haggart style. I'm talking about putting some shit on the floor of a room 20 feet away from a motherfucker and have him go like, onions, I can't shoot the guy at the door right now. Like that level shit. You need some hot shit for that, and that's where the CNCS. But again, trying to stagger that shit out. 2 to breach, 1 for this, then I'm going to swing in here, and now I got my buckshot lined up. Like, stop, step away, go back to fucking square one, and load your fucking gat up with whatever the fuck you're going to be shooting. Are you going to shoot gas? Are you going to breach doors? Or are you going to hot dudes up with fucking buckshot? Pick and then fucking stick with it. And get another gauge if you need another gauge to do something else. Or get really fast with racka, click. Fucking, there's a reason why that Benelli has that funky thing where, you know, when you're an ignorant hunter, you're like, why aren't the rest coming out? This Benelli's broken. Where I want all my shotgun shells to fly out of here. You know, that the German engineers have mechanically fucking set up some shit for you so that you can change your mind in the middle of a fucking thingy without having to go racka. So there you go.
And it's worthwhile pointing out that Chuck is talking about people who are specially selected for their ability to manage complex problems under stress, who spend ungodly amounts of time training to perform their mission, and they have a hard time keeping track of what's staggered in their gun. This would be a point where a sane person would go, I'm an accountant. I'm probably not as good at all that bad guy stuff as the professional warriors. And if they can get confused with it, probably a bad idea for me too.
To quote Pat Rogers, that's what we in law enforcement call a clue.
A clue, yes.
I mean, I think that Bill has kind of knocked it out of the park. You know, some of the stuff he's kind of put out recently, you know, he's pretty much primarily a breacher as far as, you know, what he's using a shotgun for. And he's not trying to load other stuff into it. He's taken the more realistic approach of doing ballistic testing with his breaching loads to see what happens when he gets through that door if he needs to go to work on a guy. You know, just, whatever you're putting in your tube, keep it the same and, you know what it's going to do and roll with it.
I have a clip of him talking about that where he's talking to an admin type person and how he's saying there's a possibility I might use a breaching round on a person. And the admin said something to the effect of, you can't do that. You might get lead poisoning or something like that. Like,
you know, that also brings up another good point. I've seen this at gun stores. There are some stores that sell things like rubber batons and rubber buckshot. I want to make this abundantly clear and put it to posterity. From a civilian perspective, there is no such thing for us as ordinary civilians as less lethal use of a shotgun. Those rounds were designed for very specific situations and very specific training. And if you don't have that situation and you don't have that training and you do something stupid, and that's what it leads to. It's like, well, it's only rubber buckshot. That kid's, vandalizing my car. I'm going to shoot him. Well, you give him a load of rubber buckshot at, 7 yards in the chest and you kill him. The prosecutors are not going to go, well, you used rubber buckshot. You tried. They're going to go, you pointed a shotgun at a living human being without justification and pressed the trigger and he died. This was a predictable outcome of your reckless actions. Go to jail, do not collect $200. Law enforcement can do some of that less lethal stuff under very controlled circumstances. We can't. So if you don't have a badge on your chest, and you're even as a law enforcement officer, if you're not in uniform doing uniform stuff, if it's a home defense thing, that stuff has no application for us. Things like Chuck was talking about, CS grenades, breaching rounds, rubber buckshot, rubber batons, For us as citizens, it's either buckshot or slugs. That's all we do. Leave the rest to the armed professionals.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I forgot one. 12-gauge flashbangs. Those things are awesome. They don't have any ass behind them, but man, if you put them inside of a car while a dude's driving, he don't drive very much longer. Or LAPD, while they were, old school. Let's go back to like the truck with the chain and the big hook to rip the burglar bars off and shit, dude. If the UC said that the dope was upstairs and they knew he was going to go for flush mode, they had like Benelli support by fire positions that would roll off the sides of the fucking cat and hang out in the front yard. And their one job was to launch 12-gauge bangs into the second floor to suppress Pook from being able to get to the dope and get to the toilet in the amount of time it took them to get upstairs. And so they're just like, hey, Johnny, Tommy, you guys are on 12-gauge area denial. He will not get into room 5 tonight. And they're just pumping that shit like it's hot. So Pook rolls in there, opens up the door, trying to get some shit from under the bed, and it's just boom, 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 boom. He can't get in there. He's fighting through flashbangs, trying to get to his mattress to get that shit to the toilet. So there's a lot of funky ways to do shit out there, but it's always dedicated guns. That's why everybody's got color-coded shit in patrol cars now. Because, just think about it. The department, it doesn't want the liability of you accidentally grabbing the lethal gauge. And you guys are talking about putting different shit in the same gun and having to memorize what you had when you employed it. It just doesn't pass the smell test. Nobody is willing to put that liability on it from a governmental standpoint of a oops, my bad situation. So trying to come up with it on your own for Home D is cray-cray, I think.
Well, another aspect of this is also people saying, well, that I'm going to put in birdshot for the first 2 shells. The next ones are going to be number 4, and then we have number 1, and then slugs.
Oh, that's my favorite.
It's just one thing.
People want to shoot somebody a little bit. No. You're either pressing the trigger because you mean business. You are pressing the trigger because this guy is presenting a threat sufficient to make you think, if I don't do this, me and my family are dead. That is the appropriate use of a shotgun or any firearm. If it isn't to that level, it's the wrong damn tool. It's going to be either too much when you don't need it or too little when you do. If it's game time, you need to bring what's actually going to be effective. And if it's not, put the damn gun down.
Tim, I dealt with that this week. I got asked to go to a church and talk to a couple folks there about the security with the active shooter thing that happened in Texas. All the churches are around that. So here's this guy, and it was typical guy that thought he knew a whole lot about guns, and he was telling me, he said, yeah, we're going to put a guy right here with an 870 shotgun, pump shotgun. It's going to scare the congregation, so we'll lay a towel over it. And he said, but he's going to watch these doors, and if somebody comes in with a gun, I think they ought to have number 7.5 or 8 shot for the very first shot. He said, would you shoot him in the face and blind him? And I'm like, dude, I said, if he's worth shooting, shoot him in the face with buckshot. If you're gonna shoot the guy in the face with birdshot, but that's the mentality you deal with. And another thing, most people when you talk about staggering rounds, you'd be amazed at people that don't understand that first in is last out.
Right.
They say, okay, my first round is going to be birdshot. Here it goes. And they load the tube, and then they load everything on top. I said, my last shot's going to be a slug. And I said, no, dude, your first shot's going to be a slug. And they just don't understand the mechanics of first in, last out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that shoot somebody a little bit thing, all of you guys as trainers have experienced that, right?
Yeah,
one of the hardest things to communicate to somebody is the other guy doesn't have those reservations. The other guy and his friends, because he's almost never by himself, will do the most unspeakably horrible things to you and to your family if they have the opportunity. They mean business. You have to mean business as well.
And you know, we could talk for hours on mindset and commitment and you know, perseverance, you know, of the application of defense and lethal force and all that stuff. You know, the average person that wants to employ the shotgun or any weapon for that point, from a self-defense point of view, they really don't know what they're getting into. They really don't know what they have a fantasy that I've got this covered, but they really haven't thought it through.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, it probably does go to need to be said that because of the 12 gauges recoil and most people's lack of ability to manage recoil, you are probably going to have a longer information processing cycle between shot to shot if you're an average Joe. And where that matters is if the target changes, you're probably not to get into the whole psychological, you know, oh, the shotgun's going to throw the guy back or whatever, physiological, excuse me, but on the psychological tip, getting blasted with a shotgun probably going to have a higher psychological effect on the person that got shot in terms of their ability to associate what they've seen in Hollywood movies to themselves in microseconds. And if you don't think that that's not a thing, watch officer defensive tactics stuff with simunitions, where that cop takes a single Sims paint round in the chest at a traffic stop and they fall on the deck dropping their clipboard and flashlight. That Sims round did not physiologically do anything to that officer. That Sims round is an entire year of television gun culture catching up to that young officer. So the chances of you putting somebody down by something other than fucking incapacitating them with a gauge in your home could possibly be higher. Your recoil cycle and time for you to get the gun back into action and look at the bad guy could be longer. So if you are an untrained shotgunner, the chances of you being able to go bam, bam with 2 rounds of 12 gauge versus bam, bam with 2 rounds of carbine and still having something to shoot at on the second round are exponentially higher with the rifle than they are with the gauge. And so you just need to know that, or else you're going to outrun your headlights and you're going to get a solid hit on something. You're going to pump this shotgun and you're going to get a solid hit on the place where the something was a second ago and it's no longer there. And if you don't think that can happen, I know a dude, his name rhymes with rare and jested, and he shot a guy 4 times with a rifle once, but only achieved 2 hits because the first 2 hits were extremely effective and the person moved in the action of dying, moved out of the way. And I mean, we're talking, you guys know the deal. We're talking fast splits with an assault rifle, right? So literally bullets are coming out of the gun faster than the eyes can process that some shit's happening. So with a gauge, and again, I'm extrapolating. I've never shot somebody twice with a shotgun, so I don't know. If how exactly that looks, but I can absolutely see if you get into some traditional shit. You want to see some fucked up recoil management? Look at my man R.J. McCready in the movie The Thang, shooting that M&P at them dogs, and he's got the shotgun, so he's got a real fucked up forehand. He's like, boom, click, click, looking at the ceiling. Boom, click, click, looking at the ceiling. I know there's got to be a chance that you're going to fill somebody the fuck in, and it's going to be boom, click, click. Where'd he go? Motherfucker ain't even there no more. He is not in front of him. You vaporized him with the awesomeness of your gauge, or he fell down your stairs, one of the two.
Right.
But just avoid fucking busting another round of buckshot into your drywall because you're trying to get fucking .2s coming out of your shotty. You just throwing that out.
And this brings up a solid point for me why I'm a bigger proponent of a pump gun. In that dwell time between, for the average owner running a gun, getting back on site, back on acquisition, understanding what is going on, can be very important. There's that dwell time where we see a lot of newer shooters going to semi-autos that are like, cool, piece of steel, piece of paper in front of us, and they just get on that semi and they're burning shit down, which great, awesome. But when they start to give up the recoil control on the gauge, especially a semi-auto by round 3, round 2, round 3, causing them to miss. Whereas a lot of times I see it the reverse cycle with a pump gun, because of the action of them working the pump, is allowing them a better management of the gun, time, visual processing of information to either deliver or not deliver the next subsequent rounds more accurately or efficiently.
Yeah, the concept of pacing, right? And
rhythm, cadence, pacing.
I stole this from Tom Gibbons. He teaches people to use a speaking device. They say boom, chuck, chuck, right? That gets you to work the trigger properly and then work the action properly on a pump gun. And what I tell people when I'm instructing them is that's about the speed at which you can say boom, chuck, chuck, and you can do it pretty quickly, but that's about the speed. I mean, you can certainly go faster once you're more skilled, but if I'm using a pump shotgun for real, I'm not going to be seeing how fast I can manipulate the gun. I'm going to be taking carefully aimed, carefully cycling the weapon along the lines of that boom, chuck, chuck rhythm that's in my head. And that generally keeps them from going, because you do see that, especially when it gets on steel and everybody's shooting fast and I want to go fast, sir. So getting them to slow down and actually get the hit, and they can do it pretty quickly, but sticking to that rhythm is helpful. And on the topic of carbines versus shotguns, Chuck brought up an interesting point. You know, you never had to shoot somebody with a shotgun twice, right? That gets the concept of dose, right? A shell of buckshot properly delivered is usually a sufficient dose of knock it off for any bad guy to get the point. Whereas you almost never see somebody shoot just one round with a carbine, because you can really run one really, really fast, and there's that temptation to do that. And I'm not saying this is a primary concern. I'm not saying I sit up at night thinking about this, but how many times you press the trigger on somebody can be a factor in how things go after the fact, especially if you're a citizen, law enforcement officer operating in the continental United States. How many times you press the trigger is not an insignificant thing to think about, right? So that's one of the reasons why I'm a fan of the shotgun as a defensive weapon, because, well, how many times did you shoot him? Once. The fact that you shot him with the most destructive payload we have, short of actually, I mean, to get any better than really what buckshot does at close range, you have to start talking about ordnance, right? So the fact that you did it with that incredibly effective destructive round, that's not something that most people think of. It's, you know, you shot him once. That seems reasonable to me, as opposed to you shot him 5 times. Well, yeah, you can deliver 5 rounds in a very, very quick period of time, but they look at it as you going bang, 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 when that's not reality. But that's something you have to think about. You have to think about the uninformed public who will potentially be sitting in judgment of your actions. So a single press of the trigger sounds a lot better to me than multiple presses, if I can have it.
I just want to hear Rob's take on all of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think he's right. That, you know, I've sat through many grand jury testimonies and whatnot, and never underestimate the, I don't want to call it stupidity, but the ignorance of a juror.
Mm-hmm.
We're terribly influenced by movies and television. So when your case is presented to a grand jury, what in most jurisdictions this is the way this is going to play out. If you're involved in a shooting, it's going to be a homicide. It's going to be investigated as a homicide. It's going to be presented to the grand jury as a homicide. And the grand jury is a one-sided thing. You've got a prosecutor in there, and you have no defense. Basically, a good prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich if he wants to. So a lot of times it's whatever light that the prosecutor wants to shed on your actions. But you can probably get, unless you can say, hey, I shoot really, really fast and I can show a video demo of how fast this thing happens, and you can play this thing out a little bit. The average person is going to say, you shot him how many times? Was that really necessary? Did you go over and above what it took to stop this threat or whatever, or were you just being vindictive and was this malicious on your part? I think there's a little bit of weight to that. I think it could really go either way. It depends upon the locale that you're in. Where I come from, he needed killing, still an affirmative defense. A lot of it depends on what part of the country you're in and what the local political climate is, and how bad the prosecutor wants to fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
And the public at large thinks about it in terms of themselves. They think, if somebody shot me once, I would stop what I'm doing. When we can show video of lots of guys who were shot way more than once and didn't stop what they're doing. I mean,
right.
Mathematics are a real good example of that.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This whole thing about a jury of your peers is a little funny because those people aren't us.
Right.
They're not trained like you are. They don't have your life experience. They don't have your interest in this material. So they're really not your peers, but those are the ones that are going to be sitting in judgment of you.
Yes, indeed.
If I had a jury of my peers, if I was presented a grand jury, they'd slap me on the back and hand me another box of shells.
Right. It's probably fair to say that no one who teaches firearms, or no one who competes seriously with firearms, or no one who
Well, I think
they want you to hear the story and the narrative that they tell in court and not muddy it up with any of your life experience and actual knowledge about the topic, right? So there's no way in hell you're going to be judged by people who have the same level of investment in this that you do.
Well, as a matter of fact, when they do jury selection, those would be the first people that they kick off.
Yeah.
How many of you guys have been on had jury duty?
I have.
How many of you have been excused when they asked the question, would you tend to give the testimony of a police officer any greater weight than the average person? And you say, well, hell yeah, they're cops. We trust the cops. They're the good guys, right? So if he say this guy's a shithead and needed shot, good with me.
Right.
And if that's the way you present yourself, you're out the door. So they're going to get the folks on the jury that maybe not be so sympathetic to your actions.
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago, guys. I've been doing this for 32 years. The criminal justice has nothing to do with justice.
Fact.
Amen.
What else you got, Landfair? What else you got?
Do you guys have any experience with any optics that were killed due to shotgun recoil? Kind of like what a Scar Heavy does to most magnified optics.
I've seen shotguns tend to be fairly violent in everything that they do, right? So this is not the place I would put the cheapest optic I've got. If I'm serious about using this as a defensive implement, I'm going to get Adam's Crom mount. I'm going to put an 8-point micro on it because they can take the punishment. And I'm going to run that. And, on the topic of optics, I don't like a lot of red dot setups on shotguns simply because they place the optic too high, right? So the optic doesn't come right into the focal plane of your eye, but his mount fixes that. And in talking with Ashton Ray of 360 Shooting Performance, who's done a lot of work with Adam on those, he finds those to be faster. But if you're going to put an optic on your shotgun, don't chintz out. Buy a good quality optic. Buy an aim point. Now I know there are some other manufacturers that are popular. The lower end ones, like some of the Vortex ones, or are primary arms, and those may be cool on a 5.56 that doesn't really have a lot of recoil, and they may be adequate for that, but I don't think they're going to live very long on a 12 gauge. And please, others, feel free to contradict me on that.
So I'm a dyed-in-the-wool, crown mount RMR dude on my gauges. Obviously, Aridus makes, Adam's crew makes the best mount that I've seen so far set up with that. Unique-wise, especially with the backup irons, I've tried others from, other companies. Midwest works well, but RMRs, I've used RMRs on shotguns. I've used a lot of aim points. I had one department that I did a class 4 package for. They were running all Bushnell TR-25s. On their 870s.
Wow.
I know, right, Matt? Right. Look at Rob. Rob's over like, it's over. Not one of them died. Here's the thing that shocked me. Not one of them died in 5 days.
Wow. That's impressive.
5 days, not one of them died. And I just sat there and went,
that's the day you buy a lottery ticket.
This is not a norm, okay? This is not the norm.
Day 6, they had a mass suicide.
Yeah, exactly. If there would have been day 6, everyone would have just committed the seppuku. They were done. And I was like standing there going, I just no, this doesn't add up. Obviously. And as far as that goes, what's your life worth? I mean, if it's a hobbyist gun, tinker gun, the guy who's going to take it out, put it on his deer gun, shoot 5 rounds every 10 years through it. It's the best optic in the world. I've never had a problem with it. I believe it. It's on the internet.
Yes.
No, it's aim point or bust for that measure. I've done some stuff with MROs on them. They've been fine. I've done stuff with RMRs. They've been great. But aim point is still the leading rule of the roost on that.
So to piggyback on what Steve's saying, I bought one of those primary arms dots at the Black Friday sale. They had a really screaming deal on it. And I thought, you know what, for $80, $70, whatever, that's going to go great on my 22 AR. It's going to be perfect for that.
Right.
My gauge has an aim point.
And, on that same sort of vein, flashlights, right? So all flashlights are not created equal. That $35 LED you find at Dick's is probably not going to live very long mounted to a 12 gauge with the kind of recoil that goes on there. So think about buying a quality one like the Phoenix Adam mentioned. I know everybody hates to pay the Surefire tax, but their stuff is used heavily for a reason. It's good quality and you can rely on it. And that's, if you're setting up a defensive shotgun, remember what we're doing here. We're using this thing because there's a dude trying to kill us. This is not the time when we want to save that extra $50 by going with a light that doesn't work or an optic that doesn't work or a mount that sucks. That's the time to really invest in good quality gear because you don't get a second chance in that moment.
Yep. Yeah. I want to go back and touch on something else that Tim said earlier. Talking about
no.
I'm sorry, your opinion doesn't matter, Steve.
That's fine.
He's going to kill me now.
No.
Going back to Adam's crom mount, I've played around with a couple of aim point mounts on various shotguns, and they never really gelled for me. Yeah. Precisely like Tim said, because they put the optic too high up, and you can't get that good natural mount. Right. It feels weird. I'm hunting for the dot, and it's hard to manage the recoil. It's just less suboptimal. That Adam came out to shoot with us about a year ago, and he brought a prototype crom on his 1301, and he handed it to me, and I mounted that thing up, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, this thing's where it needs to be. So I think that made a big change to how I look at an optic on a shotgun.
Absolutely.
Here's the key component you missed. And just because I can point this out for Matt now, because his dad's going to slap him in the back of the head. The height of the mount and the optic directly reflects on how you load the gun through the port. The height of the optic directly relates to the port loading of the gun. It changes it to the point of where guys that were normally over the top may have to come from underneath now, or by having the lower mount, it's more convenient getting back over the top of the gun as well.
The crom mount, I have resisted, unlike some of the guys, I have really resisted putting a red dot on my shotgun. Carbine, wonderful. I don't have one on a handgun, but I've really resisted the shotgun. Adam's crom mount,
yes,
it's the first one that I feel comfortable with and that I want to explore. I think his accessories, everything he's done so far, has been the next level of accessorizing the shotgun. It's taken things another step forward in capability and design. I'm kind of a skeptic when it comes to most of this stuff because I figure if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Right.
And that's how I looked at red dots on shotguns. The jury's still out for me, but I think this mount, the Crom mount, is the best thing I've seen to date, and I'm looking forward to really, running some. And with that line, I've got a 1301 in the pipeline, so I've got a fancy setup of a berry colored, I don't know what you call it, color, Adam.
Like a blood red.
Mauve, or I don't know what it is, but I've got a whole handful of Crom-ish stuff, Adam stuff, and I've got a 1301 in the pipeline, and we're going to give it a good honest shakeout.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
It's phenomenal stuff, and the reason being is because here's the deal: Adam comes to classes.
Right.
Adam goes to classes. Adam sees what works. Adam sees what doesn't work. Adam still formulates some bullshit opinion, never listens to the instructors half the time because he knows better than all of us. Because, well, he's the nerdy kid with all the cool tools.
Yeah.
I know, but it's cool. But the thing is, Adam comes to the classes. He sees what people are doing. He understands how the guns are working. He sees the deficiencies or sometimes perceived deficiencies or lack of things that would make life just that much easier. And more manufacturers need to start tapping into the actual industry side of the house, not just the engineers in the box going, yeah, this is great, look at this. They need to be there. They need to be at the class. They need to shoot the guns. They need to understand what we're doing with the guns, what we're giving people, so they know what the fuck to make us so it works better.
Well, yeah. and like you said a minute ago, Steve, Adam's mount is the only one that allows you to do your whole repertoire of loading techniques, everything like that. It doesn't change your instruction. And you've got a gun that doesn't have to, is not dependent on a teeth driver.
Right.
You've minimally altered the gun and all of your manipulations and everything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
For me, the optic made me slower when it wasn't mounted properly. For the things I want to do, I want to use a shotgun for the ranges that I'm using. I'm faster with a rifle-sided shotgun or even a ghost ring-sided shotgun at typical shotgun stuff that I'm interested in doing if the optic mount is wrong. Now, when you start taking it back to I'm shooting slugs at 50 yards, the red dot's going to own everything, wherever it's mounted. But when you get that optic mounted just that little bit lower so that when you throw it up there, that dot is right in the middle of where your pupil is focused, you actually pick up a little bit of speed because I don't have to read that rear sight anymore. I just put dot on target, press trigger.
Yeah, one thing that was pretty neat, which Matt, I'll let you certainly take over it. I'm just going to steer you that way. For the 870 Croms for the aim point mounts, I had Matt do some beta testing for me, and he actually put it on a timer, and even he was surprised with what he was able to accomplish.
Yeah, like I said, I was kind of skeptical of red dots on shotguns just because it's such a, I don't want to use the term point shooting because it has such negative connotations, but when the shotgun comes up, the sights are there to confirm what you already know, that it's on the target.
Right.
Especially at the ranges that we're going to use a shotgun. I mean, we're not talking 200-yard work here. So I ran the gun with the aim point turned off, using the ghost rings on it, on a 1/4 scale steel target at, I want to say 12 yards. I wanted it a little outside of that immediate reflexive shooting window. I wanted to make the sights important, truly important at that range. So I ran it with the aim point turned off and with the aim point turned on, and I saw a noticeable difference, something like a 1/10 of a second on my first shot from the low ready, and a significant improvement in my split times with the red dot. It was really surprising to me how much of an effect that had. I would really like to get it in the hands of some more novice shooters and see what kind of improvement they get from that difference.
So, yeah, I mean, 100% across the board with that. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, when you first told me that, I wasn't too surprised that your first shot was a little bit quicker. But when you said even your splits were faster, it's like, man, if you start thinking about that, in terms of like, a pistol shooting, what would somebody give to take a tenth of a second off of their splits with a pistol? Now you kind of apply that to a shotgun, knocking a tenth of a second off. That's, I was surprised that it was that much, but that's why shot timers are important. The numbers don't lie.
And I think part of that improvement was the distance I was shooting at. I don't think I would have seen that level of improvement at, say, 7 yards.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But, I mean, that was rolling as fast as I could go at 12, 13 yards, getting good hits every time.
While we've got everybody, this is one of those things that has always plagued like the shotgun world. Working the mechanical safety of the gun.
Yeah, I've heard. Interestingly enough, I've had the opportunity to train with a pretty wide variety of instructors, and there is definitely not one blanket idea on it. Different people have different opinions, and the different reasons why is certainly pretty interesting.
Right. So the big problem we have is that safeties on shotguns are not like the safeties on any other weapon system that first of all the safety on a shotgun does on every one that I'm familiar with, all it does is block the movement of the trigger. It doesn't do anything to the internals to stop it from going off if it's jarred or dropped or something. That's why we store them with an empty chamber. But most of the safeties, the Remington 870 being the typical or the exemplar of this, it's really in an awkward and silly place. Now, the Van Comp Big Dome safety, I have that on all my 870s because that dramatically corrects that. So instead of having to run with my finger pressed on this little bitty button to run the safety off, I can literally just bring up, and as my finger goes into the trigger guard, disengage the safety. That's a huge step forward. On the Beretta 1301, the safety is in front of the trigger itself. So I can easily disengage it if I want to. Now, all of that being said, personally, I leave the gun, for a home defense setup, I leave it chamber empty, safety off. I'll pick up the gun, I'll charge it, and I'll go to work. If I'm going to put the gun down or if I'm going to sling it, I'll engage the safety. Otherwise, I'll run it finger straight, safety off. If it's in my hands and I think I may need it, I'll have it with the safety off. Others.
Well, there's two schools of thought, one of which is kind of like a cop-out. Whenever I'm doing agency training, I say, I don't want to do anything that would contradict your policy.
Right.
Okay. And sometimes I go, we don't have a policy. Okay, well, maybe you should. But
yeah,
what I tell them that I do personally is we stand around and talk a lot. We stand around and plan and smoke and joke kind of thing. Anytime that we're staging or anything like that, safety's definitely on all the time. Whenever I'm got the weapon pointed in a hot direction, I tend to run the safety off. But I don't want to tell anybody anything from an agency standpoint that would, kind of come back to haunt you, so to speak. But for the average person, it was a lot like the early Smith & Wessons that you had like Colonel Cooper used to say, get caught with your dingus down.
Yep.
I've seen so many people attempt to fire a shotgun under stress and not get the safety off.
Right.
So it's kind of, you're walking a fine line there. A lot of it's going to depend on the students you're dealing with, their level of competence. A if you're talking about recruit level people or the average law enforcement guy, I definitely pretty much tell them, run the safety, disengage the safety before you address the target, address the threat. But my cop out to that is, my caveat is, I don't want to say anything to you that's going to contradict your policy.
Yeah, and I think context is an important discussion there, because law enforcement officers, they're walking around with these Batman belts that have all these protrusions on them that can catch the trigger of a 7-pound shotgun and make it go off really, really easily. And they're handling these things in a greater capacity a lot more than a home defense citizen, right? A citizen, somebody's kicking in your door, you grab the gun, you go address the problem, and then you put the gun down. A police officer has to stand outside of a particular space and control a perimeter, or has to hole up for some dude who's holed up threatening his wife and his kids. It's a completely different context. And so like Rob's talking about, that makes a whole lot of sense for the law enforcement side to think, if I'm standing in a static security position, yeah, I might want to keep my safety on. And if stuff starts to go down and I get that call on radio, then maybe safety off if I'm going to actually be searching a building or doing the kind of stuff that police typically do. So keep your context in mind.
Here's what I've always said. If you built an 870 with a Mossberg safety, you got the best gun in the world.
Absolutely.
100%.
Don't think I'm not working on that.
So what I do is actually very analogous to what I do with a pistol. Some of you guys know I buck the trend, and I still run a DA gun. I run a Beretta 92 with a decock-only G-mod. Mm-hmm. Again, because I'm cheap, and I got one at a good price many years ago, and I still use it. But when I shoot that gun, I shoot it, and then when I'm done actively shooting, I decock it. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to move someplace, I'm not shooting while I'm moving, I decock it. If I'm going to put it to low ready, I decock it. So if I have to shoot with that pistol, well, I don't have to do anything. I just pull the trigger. I'm good to go. But it's decocked. It's a little bit safer that way. With the Vang safety on the shotgun, like Tim was saying, I put my finger in there to press a trigger. It automatically disengages the safety. It's kind of like having a G model Beretta. So if I'm not actively shooting, I turn the safety on. If I need to shoot, I bring it up, finger goes in the trigger guard, safety disengages, bang, bang, bang. Problem solved. Then I put it back on safe.
And with the Vang, if for some reason you don't disengage the safety as you're presenting the gun, once you're on and you're on the trigger, all you have to do is apply a little inward pressure with, basically your trigger finger bicep, and it'll knock the safety off and you can still make your shot, which that's impossible with the stock factory safety. You have to pretty much reconfigure your whole, it makes it, the Vang safety, if you're going to have a Remington 870, and you're going to use it for any sort of serious social purposes, and you're not prohibited by agencies from modifying your gun, please put the Vang safety on your gun. Please.
Every single one of my social use serious shotguns has a Vang dome safety on it, without exception.
Yeah.
That's the first purchase.
And then they're so cheap.
Well, they're under $20. It's you're dumb not to put one of those on it.
Right. If it is going to be your primary weapon, if you have that shotgun and it is not in your hands, an extended fire device is problematic. Right. By policy, going back as far as I can remember, we had no round in the chamber. So. After the shooting engagement was over, the hull that was in the chamber was left in there, and the weapon was slung fired and would have to be racked again to be used again. Unfortunately, people can outrun headlights. I do it all the time. If I rack the shotgun to the rear and then realize that there's no need, I will dump it and with it rack to the rear and on fire. And at some point, I'll dig the round out that got put onto the ramp thingy, and then I'll load that one back in and another one or two on top of it, and then keep going. But the safety is there in the event that a knucklehead shoots, doesn't not rack, identifies that there's a problem but has already started forward movement. Now you put one in the pipe. So you got to come under the gun and you got to get it back on safe rapidly, and then you have to throw it hands off to get your hands onto your rifle to do work. And now you've got a gun with one in the chamber and an extended safety on it, and the chances of that thing kind of catching that right side pop, either on that real rigid horseshoe retention clip or however you have it mounted to the side of your kit, it's a very real problem. Shotgun negligent discharges far exceed rifle negligent discharges in a free flow training environment. Greatly, like on a factor of probably 10. More dudes get busted with shotties, and it's either hitting themselves, hitting their buddy. There's lots of shenanigans. So extra specific, very extra safety precautions are taken, and if you cannot, because you have gloved hands or whatever, if you cannot activate that safety and ensure that that weapon is safe, and then if you do that, as soon as you clear the next room, you must unload that shotgun prior to going into another room beyond that. So they'll give you one emergency run with the gun on shotgun for a single room. And then when you get into that next room, you are facing a ballistic wall in the shoot house, and you are locking and making clear that shotgun and getting that live round out of that chamber and reconfiguring that weapon back with an empty chamber and a full tube back on fire. That's how big of a big deal shotguns getting bumped on fire are when they're not used as primaries where I come from. So I loved it when we got the new 870s and they had those rounded mushroom stamp looking fucking motherfucking safeties, and it was cool for about 5 minutes until I was like, God damn, every time I look at the shotgun, it's back on fire again. You couldn't keep the motherfucker on safe when it was hanging out on the back of your kit. So just something to think about for that.
That's valid, man. That's valid.
Yeah.
Context.
Oh, Chuck's bringing a lot to the shotgun talk here.
Man, we're getting into the shotgun class yet.
So what do you guys think what skills are paramount in running a shotgun socially?
Push pull! Push pull!
Push pull! Recoil control! Rob Haught! That's what I'm going to say.
So
that.
go ahead.
I personally think there's 3. I'll let Rob deal with push pull because he's like the master of this thing. Absolutely. The other would be compartmentalization of the type of loading you're doing. Obviously, the load you're doing. And so honestly, that and patterns, 3 components: loading, patterning, and the recoil management are the 3. Those are the key 3. And I'm going to let Rob go because he does it way better than I do and talks about it way better than I am.
Well, when we talk about shotgun shooting and training people, especially new people with shotguns, you understand most of them aren't gun people. You know, they don't come into either the law enforcement profession, military, or a homeowner looking for a defensive gun. They don't come from a shooting background. So shotgun, a 12-gauge shotgun with a slug, let's say, just as a number, generates roughly the same recoil energy as a 375 H&H Magnum. Okay? So I find when you're talking about teaching new students to manage recoil and to rapid fire a shotgun or control his manipulations and stuff, in essence, you're trying to teach somebody how to rapid fire a dangerous game rifle or an elephant rifle. All right. So for me, the ability to, and this really, if you look historically, shotgun training, especially in the law enforcement realm, which is where I'm coming from, is a very type A personality. The instructors that was the billet that the guys got, and they were looked at as range gods. And the shenanigans that you see, you get a little 110-pound female and they hand her an 870 with a slug, and they walk up behind her, put their arm on her back and let her shoot the damn thing. And what happens is when she gets, settles, she'll never pick that gun up again in her career. She's scared to death of it. So, recoil management, teaching somebody how to realistically cut down recoil. And when I first started doing push-pull in the late 80s, early 90s, it was really revolutionary. Nobody had heard of it. Nobody did it. And got paid a lot of money to go around the country and teach something so simple. I was about half embarrassed, but now I say I feel better about paying my federal taxes every year. But after 20 some odd years of exposure to that, it's amazing. You hear about it everywhere. Different places are teaching it. So I would put recoil management as number one. Get the student over the fear that the gun's going to hurt them.
Yep.
And once you can cut recoil down by about 50%, then you can train. Then you can get a student that's not afraid to bring the gun to the range and bring a box of shells and actually try to improve their skills with it. The second thing I would say is learn how to efficiently keep it topped off, reloading techniques. Like I said, 20 some years ago, it was virtually unheard of to come over the top. You looked like you had a dick growing out of your forehead when you started telling people that that's what you were going to do. Now, everything was the combat load. It was always underneath and usually with an underarm tuck. Nothing was ever at eye level, shouldered. Certainly nothing was from a side saddle over the top, which is the shortest distance between 2 points is the side saddle to the loading gate, or ejection port, rather. And the third thing that I concentrate on is safe manipulation around people. Just movement with the gun, how to pivot and turn and handle the gun, a real live loaded gun around real live living people. And gun handling skills, I think that's the mark of what separates amateurs from professionals, or gun handling skills, manipulation skilks, no matter what your weapon system is. If you hand somebody a gun and they don't know what the levers and switches do, and they look at it like it's a hand grenade in their hand with the pin pulled, then you've got a problem. But recoil management, loading techniques, and manipulation skills. So basically what you're teaching people, what I do is I teach shooting skills. And how once shooting is shooting. Once you get a student up to a certain skill level, then it's up to them what application they want to put those skills towards, whether it's defensive shooting, competitive shooting, hunting, whatever. Shooting is shooting. And making them effective with the shotgun involves getting around that recoil energy. And back in the day, we had some prominent instructors that I've seen it advocated that they had a stance that replicated an artillery piece. You guys know what I'm talking about. And the energy would be directed down their leg into China.
Right.
And I said that's all well and good, but what if you have to move? What if you're shooting while you're moving or whatever? Or you're unbalanced for some reason. Maybe you're going up steps. Maybe you're going down steps. Maybe you're, whatever it would happen to be that you can't get in that perfect artillery stance. Okay? But we've come a long way. What I like to think of is we've made great strides in shotgun training in the last, say, 20 years. And that has to do with about three key components. One is different training techniques, like we're just talking about. The other one is the widespread common use of quality steel targets.
Mm-hmm.
Most ranges would not let you shoot. When I went through the State Police Academy, we shot 25 yards, 50 yards buckshot, because they didn't want us to tear up the wooden target racks.
Yeah.
So once shotguns are terribly destructive on everything, including people. So once you had a target that could take the pounding, good quality manufactured steel targets, then we can concentrate on training and technique and putting the repetitions downrange. When you get an instructor that hated shotguns because they would have to come up and count every little hole in the big B-27 target, and they would have to give you a numerical score. Okay, they hated shotguns. But the other thing that's come a long way is barrel technology, like the Van Kamp barrel, and ammo improvement, like flight control, and Remington's 8-pellet buck, and the original Federal buckshot round, the plated buckshot, LE-132 buckshot.
32. Yep. That was in the old gray and silver box.
Yes. Yes. So like I said much earlier, that nobody had ever gone to the ammo companies and said, we want a better performing shotgun round. We want a tighter patterning shotgun round. We want extended range performance. Once they started doing those three things were the catalyst of where we are today in shotgun training. I like to think that we're in a renaissance period with shotguns right now. I mean, we're advancing the arts a little bit. Got to give credit where credit's due. Early on, Gunsight with their whole social shotgun program started this ball rolling, and now we're seeing a lot of industry support. We're seeing a lot of good quality aftermarket accessories, and the guns can be tailored to mission-specific stuff like that. But yeah, going back to your original question, I know I get kind of long-winded here, but recoil control, recoil management, loading techniques, and manipulation skills.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to add to what's just been stated, but talking about recoil control, I try and teach people some simple common sense things, like, a punch is a punch because you have distance between your fist and whatever you're actually hitting. I find a lot of people, when they hold a shotgun, they're just sort of holding it up there. They're not actually welding it to their upper body in any meaningful way, and that creates enough separation for that thing to come back and hit them. So I try and emphasize using the term weld it to your shoulder, using that backward pressure, right? So when I introduced the technique I shamelessly stole from Rob, that's the last part of it, because I'm saying you're actively pulling the gun into your shoulder anyway, or in your upper torso. So the last bit of it is we're just going to sort of stretch out a little bit to activate the other half of our body. And when we combine that with a good aggressive athletic stance, that tends to take even very, very small people and gives them the ability to really control the recoil. It isn't about how much muscle, it isn't about, you don't have to be as strong as the guys who are on this panel to do it. It's about using the strength that you have, and you have whatever size you are. Even if you're small and svelte, you have the capability to run this gun well if you apply the principles, if you apply the push-pull, if you're loading your weight behind the gun when you shoot it, if you're welding it to it's not going to kick you, it's not going to beat you up. And then we can talk about things like being accurate. Then we can talk about manipulations, because they're not scared crapless every time they press the trigger.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, early on, earlier I mentioned that before I got any kind of actual training, trying to find, hardware solutions to some of these problems. So
don't even say it, Adam. If you say it's not blue belt stock, I'm going to punch you in the mouth so hard when I see you at Shot Show.
I didn't know. How could I have known? No, so well, no, it'll be good that everyone can say hey, even this guy made terrible decisions in the past. But no, so I mean, to their credit, the recoil reducing stocks, they sort of do kind of help a little bit, but no. So, but even still, using one of those, I could shoot like 15 rounds of buckshot before I could, 4 before I said, okay, I'm done. That's enough. And, I would see in threads on gun forums and different things, links to, a pretty famous video of Rob, demonstrating the push-pull technique. And, even though I would try it, it's like, I'm not real sure what it was. And then actually receiving specific instruction on how to do it. And then, of course, ditching that stock immediately, getting a Magpul stock. And I mean, it's pretty uncommon at this point for me to have a range trip where I'm shooting, less than 150 rounds and, usually in an hour or two. And I pretty much don't even shoot birdshot anymore unless it's in a class. Most of the shooting I'm doing is for R&D, so I'm using the heaviest recoiling stuff I can get a hold of. And I've had range trips where I shot 225 rounds in about 2 hours, and push pull is I would have probably just it would have been a really unpleasant experience without it. So the techniques certainly go a long way, and the actual specific instruction, even watching the video over and over, didn't quite exactly grasp it until I got shown it in person.
So let me add this. For the love of God, anybody listening, do not buy a stupid recoil reducing stock. 1, they break. 2, they change your cheek weld. 3, they change your point of aim because you can't get on the sights correctly. You can't reach the mechanical safeties correctly. They're horrible. And if you like cutting your cheek when the stock collapses and pinches it, carry on.
Steve, I agree with all of that. They're terrible.
I know.
In my class, at one point, after we do the first push-pull development kind of stuff, I'll look at the class and say, okay, guys, how much would you pay for a knock stock now? Yeah. But it's a lot of sacred cows in this business. There's a lot of it's come a long way. Like I said, at one point, everybody you dealt with, this was a foreign concept, and now it's becoming more and more widespread. Firearms training unit people tell me that at a big agency, big federal agency based out of Quantico, say the biggest single remedial training issue that they had was requalifications and retraining with shotguns, because people failed to qual the first time through, whatever. They said they started employing this technique. He said it cut it down dramatically. And he said they're mostly happy because they run the students through quickly and it saves them money. It saves them the time to recycle a student through and this and that and the other. But I could always tell when I went there, going into the cafeteria, when it was shotgun week for the new agents, because they would have black eyes, arms in a sling, all manner of bullshit. And I would look at somebody and say, shotgun week, huh? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we lose some every time. I said, well, I can fix it so you don't lose any.
Yep.
And went to another federal agency that instructors told me the first 5 rounds a new agent fires through his shotgun are slugs.
Yep.
First 5 rounds. And I say, why? I say, why in God's name do you do that? And he goes like this. That's the way it's always been. Yeah. And I said, well, that doesn't mean it was ever right in the first place, but that's the way it's always been. That's my 2 biggest pet peeves in shotgun training in the law enforcement. Their program screwed up, and they said, well, that's just the way it's always been. Nobody wants to rock the boat. We're not gonna change anything. And the other one is combat ski. So I've always had kind of a, I said, when was the last time you were attacked by a clay pigeon? And just because the guy running the range is an avid competitive bird shooter and he's figured out how to train on the company dime, he's developed a program around it.
Yeah.
But,
I won't say that we haven't.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, now, I won't say that we haven't had some fun playing that game with a port load, with throwing birds after the birds, throwing combat load and shoot. Why?
Sure.
Because we could do it, and it was stupid fun, and it was for money and beer money. But
just don't pretend it has any relevance.
Right.
Thank you, because it has zero relevance to do with anything. Zero.
Yes.
Oh, and this has been the problem for years with the whole, and we've said it before, the carryover between law enforcement training, because my uncle Rob has been a cop for 42 years, and, this is the way he taught me, and they've always done it this way. Or my buddy's uncle's dad's cousin brother Chuck has been, ninja badass for 42 years of this, and this is the way they've always done it in Big Green, versus this guy who's going, hey, dog, I've got a shotgun in the corner of the closet, this old 1300 speed pump that John Shaw taught me how to shoot. So which one is which for who and which is right? And why are we still listening to this bullshit? Like, here's one for you, Rob, and you'll remember this. Let's just put lead weight in the buttstock.
Yeah.
Remember that one. Remember those.
Mercury.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's make that thing a whole lot heavier.
Yeah, why not? And Rob's comments go to, probably the most well-recognized users of the social shotgun, if we want to call it that, have been police over the years. And people think that because police have traditionally used shotguns, that police are good with shotguns, and nothing could be further from the truth. I have a friend who just retired a couple of years ago. He spent 25 years active duty law enforcement with 4 different agencies. Their qualification with a shotgun was essentially to make the shotgun go bang 5 times.
Yep.
Right? There wasn't even a score involved.
Yep.
And they're shooting at a B-27, and all they're doing is just making it make noise 5 times. They had a hard enough time getting people to do that. The guns sat in cruisers. They were almost never deployed. They never patterned with the buckshot that they used. They're using bead-sighted guns with bird hunting length stocks. Officers had absolutely no confidence in the guns, and when they did take them to the range, oftentimes the first shot you get would be confetti because somebody stuffed candy wrappers and all kinds of other crap down the barrel of the gun, right?
Cigars, cigarette butts.
That's and Rob can contradict me if I'm wrong, because he's been doing this a hell of a lot longer than the rest of us. Would you say that's kind of a typical law enforcement?
Absolutely. What you find is you qualify with the handgun. You familiarize with the shotgun. That's what they called it, familiarization.
Yep.
And when I went through the State Police Academy, I think our shotgun training, we used 870s, and I think, if my memory serves, we shot 15 rounds.
Yeah.
And that's all. And 15 rounds of buckshot, and they picked 2 guys out of the class that shot that fairly well and demonstrated slugs at 50 yards. They got to shoot a couple slugs apiece. 2 students out of a academy class of 30 some odd guys. So do you think that any of those guys left that training and went to work feeling pretty good about shotgun shooting, about their skills?
Absolutely not.
And that's my whole pet peeve about that. If they get somebody hurt, if the gun hair lips them on the range, and they have minimal training, what's the chances of them ever pulling that thing out of the trunk of the car? And that's a whole other subject of where they keep the guns, but accessibility. But what's the chances of them ever thinking, and sadly, that's the most commonly encountered support weapon in American law enforcement. It's in every cruiser. You can have M4s, you can have MP5s, you can have all that stuff, but I guarantee you there's a pump action shotgun in almost every police car in America.
Yeah, right.
It could be some off-brand, Stevens or Montgomery Ward, whatever, but it's going to be there.
And the tragedy of that is the shotgun properly employed, especially in a law enforcement context, can be a decisive end to a threat to an officer, one that they can use more readily to preserve their lives than the sidearm that they've got on their side. But if they don't regard that shotgun as a problem solver, they're never.
Well, the thing that I've found is with all of our weapon systems, whether it's handgun, carbine, shotgun, subgun, whatever, the shotgun, once you've been trained to an acceptable level, your skill level deteriorates at a lower rate than anything else. It's the easiest gun to maintain proficiency with. Handgun's probably the worst. If you don't shoot your handgun for 6 months, you probably, your skill level drops a whole lot more. If you go out, I tell guys after coming to class, I give them a set of skill drills or school drills, we call it. I said, hey, here's a box of 25 rounds of birdshot. Just take that with you when you're going to the range with your handgun. Drag the shotgun out, run through these manipulation skills, shoot a few rounds, load a few, shoot a few, whatever. There's a 25 round skill drill that you can do. Put the gun back in the car, and you've pretty much maintained your level of proficiency to an acceptable level.
The other thing that we find with the shotgun, I know Chuck could probably attest to this as well, is that everybody's used to seeing an M4, everybody's used to seeing a pistol. That shotgun comes out, dudes are like,
Yeah.
He means business. There's something about a dude who shows up with a gauge. You go,
Big Daddy just got serious.
Shit just got real.
Yep, shit just got real.
Just to clarify what I said earlier about the psychological effect of a shotgun engagement, I don't want to sound like the gauges scare people into submission or whatever. Specifically in that example, I was talking about very physical cues to your body's nervous system that it done just got fucked up. If you are running and some dude wings you with a 5.56 round and it doesn't hit any of the key major organs or parts, there's very, very little kinetic energy transfer into your body to let your brain know that some shit just went down. When a gauge hits you, the foot-pounds of force of the various projectiles are, in my mind, extrapolating here, it's probably the equivalent to a fighter pilot that looks down and all his shit just starts blinking red at one time. Me, shit, I might need to bail out of this motherfucker. And that dude might still be in the fight. I'm not saying shooting somebody one time with a gauge is automatically going to kill them. I'm saying that when you take very real physiological cues and then you apply them to the psychological preconceived notions that our society is made up based on the bullshit they see on Hollywood, that is a very effective way to get somebody psychologically cut out of a gunfight earlier, even before you've done it physiologically. It's like, boom, hit with a gauge, fuck it, I'm done. All right, you want to be done and sit there, I'll shoot your ass again. This is good. You want to quit fighting, but that is a very real possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can see this when you shoot a steel target, right? A steel target's not a person, but you hit a steel target with 5 or 6 rounds of 5.56, it'll make a nice ringing noise. You hit it with 5 or 6 rounds of buckshot in rapid succession, the target will fall over. It will be knocked off its pedestal and to the ground. And the sound that it makes when a load of 9 pellets of buckshot slams into a steel target is unmistakable. You're putting that on a person. Now, foot-pounds of energy ain't the whole story, but it sure as hell don't hurt.
Back to what Dad was saying earlier, especially with, say, number 1 buck, that flight control number 1 load, 15 pellets, basically shooting somebody with a full mag out of a G19 every time you press trigger. It's half a mag from an MP5 every time you do this.
Hey, in fact is, if you're good on a gauge and you can run a gun, 4 presses of the trigger, that's a full 30-round stick on an M4.
I'm convinced that through my experience hunting and whatnot, that there is a physiological difference in the fact that all the pellets arrive at the same time.
Yes.
I'm convinced that how many of you have shot small game and they just fold? It's just like it's a sensory overload. I don't know how best to explain it, but Say like you. Go ahead.
So what I told folks in the class, and you can look at what Gary Roberts has said about this. Imagine taking a piece of plastic wrap and stretching it taut over a frame, and you take your finger and you press in the center of it, right? You're going to get a significant amount of stretch on that plastic wrap before your finger finally tears through, and you have a little hole in the middle of it right around where your finger went through. Reset the experiment and now press with all 10 of your fingers right in the center of that. You're going to tear a gigantic hole in the middle of that because each individual pressure point will stretch less than that one intact membrane did. So you're going to get a much greater tearing effect. And like Rob's saying, I've seen deer shot with buckshot at close range, and it is literally pop flop. They hit the ground, their legs may kick a tiny bit, but they're not going anywhere. Whereas even if you shoot them with a slug, now a slug's nothing to sneeze at, but it punches a hole through them and they run. I've seen deer shot with 30-06 and they run. I've shot a deer through the heart with a 30-30 and it ran 100 yards up the side of a mountain. It was a complete bastard to actually get a hold of. But you hit them with 9 pellets in roughly the same spot of a really good patterning buckshot, they don't run. They just drop right where they're at. And it's because of that extra effect. It's not just that the individual pellets create multiple wound tracks. It's that tearing effect when they all hit right there at the same time. You're creating a massive amount of damage in whatever you're hitting if the buckshot's in more or less a contained area. So if you keep all those pellets inside that basically 8-inch circle, you are punching out the entire pump and everything that makes the body of that violent felon who's trying to kill your family function. And it has an effect that is like I said, you have to go to ordnance to actually get more. I mean, hitting a dude in the chest with a 40 millimeter HE maybe could do more damage than that. But in terms of weapons we have available to us, if you apply it intelligently, accurately, you load it intelligently, it's the closest thing we have to a single press of the trigger off button, short of destroying the CNS.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, there's a reason that the shotgun has been around for so long. I mean, since the days of Leonardo da Vinci, the concept of a multiple projectile firearm, the envelope has changed, the delivery has changed, but the concept of an area of a pattern weapon has been around. Think about it this way. I like to say it's nobody makes use of the shotgun in a martial sense like the Americans. You know, you can go to England and they've got sporting fowling pieces and things like that, but nobody has a serious social shotgun like the Americans do. But it's fed our families, it's fought our wars, it's patrolled our streets and protected our homes all this time. And there's a reason if it didn't work, we'd have gone on to something else. You know, it's just there. I mean, and I don't see it going any place anytime soon. It's legal in most jurisdictions where maybe assault rifles are looked down on. Ammo's plentiful. Even when there's ammo shortages, you're going to find shot shells at Walmart. You know, you can go in there and find those 100-round Rob Haught signature packs. You know, that's what Hackathorn likes to call them. But, you know, that's going to be the last thing to go. I think even when if we, God forbid, we get into a restrictive gun control environment, the shotgun is going to be the last thing that's going to be on the chopping block. In rural America, there's one in every house. Like I said, there's one in every police car. Like the guy said, even if it's not your cup of tea, it would behoove you, if you're a serious student of weapon craft, to be able to run it. Some guy one time said that on a planet that's 2/3 water, only an idiot can't swim.
Right. And and after these calls, if you look at the pictures after Katrina and after hurricanes, other natural disasters, you look at how people are going. I defy you to find a series of pictures where you don't see a dude with a Remington 870 in that picture. And I remember discussions that popped up around Katrina, people going, well, the 870 must be the ultimate, crap hits the fan weapon. And I was like, no, the 870 is the gun they have. There are how many millions, tens of millions of those things out there, not counting the Winchesters, not counting the Chinese copies of the 870, not counting the Savages, the Stevenses. There are tens of millions of those things out there, and you will probably find one, even in a restricted place like New Jersey. Everybody had a pump shotgun because that's what you hunted with. So anybody who hunted or had relatives that hunted, they had an 870. They had some sort of scattergun. They're everywhere, learning how to use them and learning how to. And you can go to any Walmart in the country, even in California. You can go to Walmart and you can buy an 870, which is an unbelievably effective, devastating weapon. And you can't have an AR-15. And in Virginia, we just had a really terrible election with some really terrible people elected to bad positions. And we are point left. We are this close to being New York. Right. And in this environment, my AR-15s are not what I want to reach for. Right. I would much rather have my shotguns because, even Andy Griffith had a shotgun. Right. There's this acceptability for shotguns. And speaking of that, Rob, you're probably the guy to ask about this. It seems to me that the police departments who have the most experience in, I hate to use the term, but for lack of a better term, gunfighting. Right, they seem to be, and I'm thinking of like LAPD Metro, the Stakeout Squad, Holloway's Raiders, the Shotgun Squad in Dallas. They seem to be huge fans of the shotgun because they shot people with pistols and it wasn't going anywhere. Have you found that kind of correlation in your time over the years?
Most of the people that shoot people where I'm from are the state police, and they're big fans of the shotgun. They've had quite a few shootings with carbines, but they whack a lot of people. They got deep pockets, so they don't really give a shit.
Right.
That's true.
But no, God, I love the West Virginia State Police. I spend a lot of time with them, and they have a certain mindset, and but they're real fond of the shotgun. I don't know if that's a product of me being there for so long and doing a bunch of training with them, but they whack a lot of people with shotguns, and they're real happy with them.
Yeah.
I have a couple speed round questions to throw at you guys. What would be your favorite shotgun custom shop?
Bang.
It's a real tough call, but because of the barrel work that Bang does, I'd have to say Bang.
Like I said, it's a tough call between Bang and Wilson, but both of them have treated me well over the years. Both of them are run by good people. They do good work. I couldn't pick between the two of them.
I do a lot of work with Wilson. I've helped consult for many years there. Good friends with Hans. Hans has been a great guy. So, they both do quality work. I don't think you could go wrong going either direction.
Yeah.
Next up, what is your favorite shotgun drill?
Oh, Rolling Thunder for sure. You gotta love it. If there's one thing that's gonna put your recoil control and your loading techniques to the test, that's certainly it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with that. You work everything you really need to work with Rolling Thunder.
I've got one that I do called Shoot, Scoot, and Load Boogie. That Adam, I don't know, Adam, if you saw that one or not.
I don't think so.
Okay, but that, like you said, you have to do everything else fairly reflexively because it puts a little thinking into the game, but yeah, I got to say that one is the one I get the most fun out of watching people do.
I've got one called loading shotgun, and like after you get done using your rifle, you put it back on safe, and then you stick 2 more rounds in the shotgun, and then you sling it, and then you grab your rifle again before the next door comes up. That's kind of a tough one.
Yeah.
That's the exact kind of answer I was expecting to hear.
Gotta get it out there. Loading shotgun again. Well, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Quickly, what are some realistic standards people should be looking at? So we've discussed a lot about using a B8, sub 5 second fast drills, pistol carbine stuff. What would you throw out to be a good standard for a shotgun?
From a citizen home defense perspective, I like to have people start with an empty chamber and be able to fire 2 aimed rounds in under 3 seconds. Anybody else want to keep that?
Answer, Tim.
You know, my favorite standard is make sure you can mount the gun cleanly and hit the center of the damn target with your pattern.
Well, you know, so this actually brings up an interesting point. You know, in all the shotgun classes I've taken, I don't think that there's ever been, a timer implemented. So I'm kind of curious if, these standards for shotgunning are any different than what they are for pistol or carbine.
They are, and I used to use time slug select drills years ago with specific audiences, and then I realized, that time is best served just getting more reps.
Yep.
To be brutally honest.
Absolutely.
Because slugs have gone pretty much the way of the dodo bird for most agencies, most departments, most people who use the gun. I don't even teach outside of specific contracts for departments. I don't even touch slug manipulation on the guns. I do not. I can do everything with a shotgun with the proper load out to 50 yards with buckshot.
Yeah.
So I kind of did away with that outside of agencies that requested it.
Yeah, I think the boys are, obviously all spot on this from, standpoint of legal liability here, CONUS, and then the stuff that I did in the military as well. There should not be a shotgun accuracy standard and then another accuracy standard. If you are going to do a drill where a no-shoot has consequences, then you don't get a mulligan for having a shotgun. That's this whole fucking the enemy gets a vote too. If you think that your shotgun's the shit and you're going to bring it to combat or you're going to bring it into whatever, if you need to be able to pattern and do a low percentage shot and throw 2 pellets in an eye socket and then throw everything else over my man's shoulder so you don't hit Sally in the fucking chin, hey, that's what everybody else is having to do with assault rifles. So, you're Donald Rumsfeld in this shit right now. You're in a gunfight with the fucking shotgun you wish you had, or the shotgun you got, not the fucking long gun you wish you had. So, the DA shooting team doesn't give a fuck about your problems. They only give a fuck about the results. And I told some students that this weekend, reference trigger anticipation flinch and some other shit. And I actually was advocating offsetting and flinching into a fucking target to hit the bull. And it's like, hey, man, on any given fucking moment, your level of capability, your ability to self-diagnose is all you have. The DA shooting team doesn't give a fuck about your recoil anticipation flinch. They don't. The DA shooting team doesn't care about X, Y, or Z. If you have to fucking Michael Jackson that shit and fire your gun straight in the air while going, hee-hee, when they show up, all they give a fuck is, are there rounds in the fucking center of this perp? And do the amount of rounds in the center of that perp correspond with the amount of little motherfucking cones on top of shells in and around your shit, which corresponds with how much bullets were left in your fucking blaster? That's what they give a shit about. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, you are responsible for every pellet of every shot that comes out of your gauge. And so you need to fucking know what the capabilities and limitations of that gauge are. And that's why you had some dudes that are way fucking smarter than me talking about patterning. Because you have one mental decision to fire the weapon and one pull of the trigger with anywhere from 8 to motherfucking 14, 16, 17 consequences flying out of the front of that bitch. So you might want to know where all them 17 consequences going to land at any given distance, because you're responsible for every one of them motherfuckers. So there you go.
So in response to your specific point about timing, Adam, I think one of the reasons you don't see timers used in shotgun classes more is because, frankly, a lot of people who are charged with teaching people to use a shotgun, how shall I put this differently? They suck. So, I mean, you're talking to some folks here, folks like teaching people recoil control to the point where they can be expected. When you go through a Roth Haught class, I would expect that by the end of that class, a 3-second standard for you to deliver 2 aimed shots is like an easy day for you, because he's teaching you what you need to do to really control the gun. So I think it's the fact that people, they're not getting far enough to the point where you can introduce the stress in a box thing. I mean, the self-defense is a limited time opportunity, period. You only have so much time to do something useful in your defense. And that's true even if we're holding a shotgun in our hands. We have to be able to use it accurately and effectively, but I just don't think there are a lot of people who can teach people to that standard. You get the normal police calls, and they do have times, but it's times with a dude with a timer and he has a whistle. And you can tell a police firearms instructor because they have the lung capacity of Michael Phelps. You know, they can blow that whistle for like 10 seconds after it should have actually stopped. And they have to get people through stuff. So I think that's why you don't see more timing, but you should, because getting people accustomed to the speed of the fight, I think, is an important part of defensive training. They have to be able to understand this is the time frame these things happen in, but I have a lot of opportunity within this time frame to do something useful to protect myself. Make sense?
No, I mean, that's definitely a good answer as far as the speed goes. And I mean, as far as standards for accuracy, Chuck was making some pretty good points for that. And I think that's one area where target selection in training comes into play a little bit too. Some guys use steel, and steel is a lot of fun to shoot and everything. But Tom Givens, I mean, at least the class of his that I took, we used basically a cardboard negative target, and we're shooting through the empty space, and then everybody can see everybody else's target, and if there's anything visible on your cardboard, then that was a bad shoot. And I think that was pretty interesting that that sort of training definitely had a higher demand for accuracy, which I mean, I think there's certainly good reasons to use both.
Right.
But it was an interesting observation just as far as observable standards go.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to do as much work as I can on paper targets because it keeps people honest. Right? Yeah. It's really easy to start going a little too fast on steel, and you ding it, but you kind of winged it on the side. You didn't put your pattern right where it needs to be. And if we translate that to physiology, it's the difference between hitting the things we want to hit and things that are not as consequential. And if you want to see graphic examples of where that matters, look at Agent Morales' use of the shotgun in a Miami firefight. Now, he was dealing with a lot of problems. I give him nothing but props for that. He's using a bead-sighted shotgun that's not set up properly. He's only got one arm, and a whole bunch of stuff's going down. But he had a couple of shots that were not terribly effective because the payload went just a little bit off of where he was going. He only had a very small amount of bad guy to shoot, and he had a hard time delivering that payload where it would have stopped the fight before a dude gets out of the car and tries to end him by emptying his revolver at it. So, I mean, that little bit of difference, it sometimes doesn't show up on steel, but it does show up pretty clearly on paper. And ideally, yeah, in that situation, you'd shoot basically the 8-inch circle out of the center of that target, doing all your speed and manipulation work, and then you shoot buckshot for score.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to send around a bird shot over the shoulder of the steel and have Steve yell at me for a minute, but it's much worse feeling to have accidentally blown the head off of a cardboard target when I'm supposed to be shooting through the negative center.
Yeah, I like using plate racks if we have them available on the range. Plates with a reasonably performing buckshot is absolutely a doable thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that made for an excellent intro to shotgun for Chuck.
Chuck's over there like, hell no, I got this M4. I don't care about your dumb gun.
So let's wrap this sucker up. Let's get some final thoughts from you guys. During this little final thought thing, Tim is going to walk away. That was impressive.
And he's out.
And he's gone.
Sorry for the interruption.
So basically during this final thought, also be sure to plug whatever companies that you're working with. If you have any special projects on the horizon, anything that you want to hint at to make people really look into your company, be sure to include that. So Tim, go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll plug FPF training. John Murphy runs it. I'm teaching shotgun for him in association with him. We have a number of classes coming up in Culpeper, Virginia, which should serve the Northern Virginia area very well. We're going to do home defense shotgun, which is a very tailored program specifically to take you. But if you don't know anything about shotguns, by the end of the day, you'll know what you need to know to run a shotgun for home defense, how to load it properly, how to set it up, the kind of threat you're actually using it to deal with. And then we have a shotgun skills class, which is higher round count, and you're doing more manipulations, you're doing a little more shooting and a little less classroom time. We'll also be presenting a class sometime in the summertime with 360 shooting performance that's going to be
Yeah, that's all right.
I think this is the second or third time that he's done this. There he is. Oh, he's gone again. That's why we can't have anything nice.
Can't have nice things.
Okay, you're back.
Okay, so you missed all of that.
Yeah.
Everything. No,
Okay.
the last 10 seconds.
Yeah. FPFtraining.com, 360shootingperformance.com. Check them both out.
Cool. Steve.
Yeah. What do you want to know,
got?
Matt?
What you got?
SentinelConcepts.com. That's my program. Training menus up. The schedule's up for 2018. I think I've got about half a dozen shotgun classes on the schedule this year, including a low light only shotgun. Just for guys to start maximizing reps of using the light and the gun and all the manipulations that go along with it. That mainly came about from a lot of requests. Yeah, what I'll tell guys the most is this: go take a class with Rob Haught. Go take a class with Tim. Go take a class with Tom Givens. I'm not above it, not beyond it. Everybody that knows me knows I will train with a lot of instructors every year. Here's the deal. Nobody holds all the keys to the kingdom. We've all got a thing here, but the thing that none of us have is an ego. We understand that there are other people out there with other answers to your problems. Go see Tim and those guys with Murph and his schedule. Go seek out Rob Haught. Go to Gunsight. Go to some of the other programs that are out there. But what you're looking at right here on this panel, another one is Chris Clifton. Another one is, Adam, what is this program's name?
Who are you talking about?
Chris Fry.
Chris Fry. MDTS.
MDTS. That's another dude. I know Chris Clifton does some shotgun stuff. Chris Fry does some shotgun stuff. Rob Haught. These are all dudes that now in my lifetime, as well as Tom Givens, like I mentioned before, are guys that I would seek out to go train with on my own. These are dudes that I would go look at, that I respect, that I recommend to my students.
Daryl Bolte, too. I would throw his name in there.
I'll forget that big heavy bastard. There's no HK shotgun anymore. Nobody cares about him and his Hebrew hammer. Nobody cares about Daryl. I love Daryl.
Cool. Adam.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it kind of easy that I don't have to like try to talk up my stuff at all, because everybody else did that for me, and I promise it's not because I'm paying them anything. But yeah, so Aridus Industries, that's ARIDUS. One of the regrettable things is coming up with a name that's difficult to understand or spell, apparently. But yes, I mean, I make the quick detach carrier, which is a mechanical detachable side saddle, which is good. The guys talked about the Crom, which is a co-witness ready optic mount. So it's a direct mount for red dots, and then it has an integrated adjustable ghost ring sight, so you can co-witness with that. One thing, as far as things that I'm looking to develop a little bit, Rob would probably be a little bit interested in this. I'm getting some echo, I'm not sure why, but I'm probably going to start looking at having an option to hack off the top half of the ghost ring, basically because whenever I went and got to shoot with them, but last year playing with his ghost ring setup, the way that was cut, it was like, that is pretty slick. And, even though I haven't personally experienced any, cluttered visual issues, especially when you're using a target focus, some people have voiced the concern of, a cluttered sight picture. And so, hacking off the top half of that ghost ring would go a long ways towards that. But yes, I mean, check out the website. The website actually sucks pretty bad, but at least there's some pictures and video and different things of the different things that I offer. So, but yeah, I mean, aside from that, just freaking go get training before you spend any money on any hardware, especially my stuff. I'd much rather, people put a couple $100 into actually getting instruction, having an idea of what they're doing first. So,
well, I remember a couple SHOT shows ago doing just some freelance stuff for Recoil, and you didn't have a booth, but I ran into you and I knew what you were about and I knew what you made, and people needed to know about this quick detached carrier. And I remember that conversation, you talking about naming that company, and yeah, what a horrible mistake.
Well, hey, live and learn, I guess. I'm too late to go back now, so gotta make the best of it. Just make sure I spell it out every time I talk about it.
Exactly. Chuck?
Yeah, spring, late March 2018, Alliance, Ohio, Press Check Consulting, Advanced Shotgun. It's going to be pretty awesome. Shotgun, you can fucking kiss my ass on that. Hey, you're going to have to reload in 3 seconds. It's going to be awesome. No, we're not going down that road. That being said, I'd like to echo what the other panel members said about training with Rob. When I looked at seriously wanting to get into 3-gun before I got all beat up, I knew that I was going to live or die by the gauge. That's really, multi-gunners that ignore that discipline, it fucks them up real bad. And when I went to like a lot of badass people and asked them, all right, where do I go when I finally decide that I have to learn the gauge, whether I think it's gay or not? Everybody's like, dude, you've got to go shoot with Rob. And then the next thing of that, you heard somebody say, don't buy everything before you train. But the big thing from that is understanding that the pump manipulation on a shotgun and the technique of timing and getting that pump to unlock and relock and all of that, if you show up with a semi-automatic gun, because that's what I carry or whatever, all right, sure, you're training as you're going to home defend or training as you're going to fight, but you're missing an opportunity for Rob to teach you something about the manual function of that shotgun. And so it's kind of like showing up with an RMR to your very first pistol class. bro, every one of those reps that you're doing, you're missing the sight alignment piece of that as a result of bringing a hardware solution to a software training class. So even if you had a semi-auto only gun, I think that being a student that knows a little bit about what they don't know, that you should definitely kind of bring the 870. If you could do it with the 870, you could do it with the other platforms as well. And that's just Chucky P's take on just getting the most out of your fucking money, man. You know what I mean, guys? That's what it's all about. Learn some shit and then go back with it. So that's it.
Good stuff. Matt.
Unlike the rest of these guys, I don't have a training business. I'm just an IT weenie that grew up fortunate to learn how to shoot, and I love shooting. I love shooting shotguns, and I'm going to shoot some shotguns. That's what I'm going to do. If I have to plug anybody, I'm going to plug Dad's classes. Wilson Combat, Van Comp, Eritis. That's what's on my gauges, Magpul stock. Go get training. Learn to love the gauge. Tubular repeating Claymore.
Good stuff. And lastly, Rob.
Well, it's hard to top some of this stuff. I think Steve said it best. There's a number of really good instructors out there now. It used to be more of a limited market to find a shotgun instructor. Now there's several really good quality guys out there doing stuff. I do limited classes every year. I'll do maybe half a dozen. I don't have a website, but I do have an email address, simtac@yahoo.com, SYMTAC@Yahoo. If anybody's interested in knowing if I've got something scheduled or whatnot, drop me a line. If you're interested in hosting a class, drop me a line and we'll talk about it. As far as plugs go, Wilson Combat, Bang Comp, Eritis, of course. I think he's now the cutting edge company on the block. Magpul for their innovation in most all the weapon systems. MGM targets. I use a lot of MGM targets. They're good people to deal with. But get training. Go someplace. No matter what you do, even if it's a local class of some kind, go get some type of training. And again, there's some one-stop shop places like Wilson and Bang where you can get an idea of what you want your gun to look like. After you've come to class, and you can basically buy once and not have to do a lot of gun plumbing and be bolting things on your 870. Just get it built right the first time. Other than that, just be safe and train.
Cool. Well, thanks, guys. I found that to be educational. I believe the listeners did too. And we talked about guns. Long overdue. No idea what we're going to be doing next week. Most likely, though, we will be doing another of these fine podcasts next week. Most likely Thursday. Most likely 1800 hours Mountain Standard Time. Big thanks to our sponsors, Forge Tactical Training, Chappie and Doc Spears, two awesome guys. They provide all kinds of great training, real-world stuff, based on real-world experience. Very knowledgeable people. Also, our other sponsor for podcasts, Facts on Firearms. Those guys are producing some very high-quality AR barrels, pistol barrels. They have some cool stuff on the horizon. Good pricing, great performance. If you haven't already, check them out. I know InRange TV has done some good stuff with them. I believe Carl did 2 separate projects using their barrels, and they've worked out very nicely. Big thanks to our network supporters. You can help support this whole. You can help support Primary and Secondary, this whole network. The website, primaryandsecondary.com, the forum, our 576 different Facebook groups, the podcasts, all this kind of stuff by going to patreon.com/primaryandsecondary. By helping contribute, you get some benefits in return. Contributing $5 or more monthly gets you access to not only our, let's see here, we have a Discord chat, we have a Facebook group. We also have a tremendous amount of great discounts from supporting companies. And some of these companies are companies that you're, and also a big thanks to those companies that are helping us out. Filster's one of them. Let's see here, what else? Hopefully you did find this somewhat educational. Hopefully you enjoyed this, because you're going to have to like this. Not only that, you should share this. And you've been watching this long enough that it's time to subscribe. This is going to be available on, let's see here, iTunes, Google, Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all in audio form. This also is going to be edited and thrown back onto YouTube. But I think that pretty much covers everything on my end. I think that should do it, and I will talk to you soon. And the audio part's done. We're still live on YouTube. I really enjoyed it. I thought that was cool. And it's funny how Chuck actually had some good stuff. We just thought you'd bash it constantly, say shotguns are stupid. And then Fisher constantly put that, as in the fact that I him, so I don't have to hear my voice.
There we go.
You know,
Oh, no, that's
one of
me
my
doing that.
one of my first sort of interactions with Chuck was, pretty much right when I first ended up in one of the primary and secondary Facebook pages, and I'm just going off and off and off about shotguns. So having some pretty good input from him. I was very, very pleasantly surprised to see that when you added him to the Facebook Messenger chat. I'm like, oh man, this is going to get interesting. But no, exactly. I mean, he made some really, really good points on a lot of the stuff. So, that balance is actually probably a pretty good thing to have.
Yeah.
I really liked his input on what I saw as something with no downsides, that bang safety. And for me, it has no downsides. It's exactly what I need on my gauge. For him, it's a liability because of the context, how he uses it.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I mean, that's not my world. I had never thought of that. So that was good to hear. Thank you for that.
Yeah, man, we actually looked at putting those inboard on the other side to help us get the safety activated on the gun with gloves on in the event that I've got to drop this shotgun. I can't ND on myself. I can't ND on my buddy. I'm dropping it because it's, this big and only has one round of Hatton left in it. And so if I miss trying to plant it center mass in somebody, I'm in a bad way. I'm going to be going to pistol. So you accept that danger of, all right, let me just get this thing on safe, get it away, get my rifle up, and then get enough breathing room to safely reconfigure the shotgun and then get some more rounds of whatever in the tube or what have you. I don't know where we actually went with that, whether we ended up putting big fatty safeties on there or not, but somebody at least had talked about that. Because that's a huge problem. The newer 870s kind of bored out all of that area, but like a 90s era 870, getting it off or on was just fucking shit show, man, especially with Nomex flight gloves on or something like that.
Yeah. Cool. I guess we're done, unless you guys have anything to add or say.
No, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, anytime.
Thanks for
Talk gauge is good. Yeah, go ahead.
Just wanted to say thanks for having me on here. I'm pretty much roadkill on this information highway stuff. If I didn't have my IT guy here beside me, I'd have been sending you smoke signals or something. But thanks a lot.
Well, it's cool too, because on chat I saw people recognized you and said, "Wait a minute, is that Rob Haught?" So at least people can identify you. That's good.
Yeah, man, he's a big deal.
Being out there for a while.
But like I said before the show started, Rob is definitely like your final stop on the shotgun Haught. You have to go to a Haught class.
Just help me get him an actual website. So
I can help.
We've got a class coming up this weekend, which is why he's out here.
Yeah.
And of course, everything has been, mail me a check for your deposit. In this day and age, everybody's just, click PayPal. It needs to be that easy.
Well, I can definitely help with, if you need help spreading the word. I have a calendar that's open to anyone to use, especially with his cred. Yeah, say the word and you guys have access if you want to add classes to that. Just at the very least, that will let more people know about what's available.
Yeah, I definitely think that Rob publicizing that would be a good thing for sure. Considering a couple of weeks ago, the plan was actually probably to be out there with the two of them, and then everything, a bunch of other stuff came up and wasn't able to make it out. And so now I'm starting to look, it's on the radar for 2018 of okay, well, Rob's one of the few guys left on my list that I got to get into. So.
Yeah. And yeah, there's some pretty easy, well, you have your IT guy next to you, but yeah, some pretty easy web solutions to that.
Yep. A month or two, maybe 3 months ago, Lee Gullett put a post up in the training Facebook group about it, and I ended up getting 3 dudes sign up for the class out of that. So awesome.
Yep. And now with that in mind, I found that Facebook specifically to announce stuff is pretty crappy. You can't share it. You can't share it to other agencies unless people are on Facebook. And also, Facebook isn't overly firearm friendly. Yeah. So I really found I didn't get the results I really wanted, even if I paid for advertising with firearm stuff. So I said, screw Facebook. I'm doing my own thing. And so I created that calendar. And so basically what you do is you put the details, all the details on this. You can put up a hot link on there to pay directly or to register, whatever you need. And then through that, people can email that. If someone's looking up someone else's courses, your courses will be on there alongside. So if someone wants to look according to zip code, you look up that and you can find out what's going on. Or if you just want to see general training in general or shotgun specific, this is where it's at.
Awesome.
So just resources.
Thank you.
Yeah. Steve, are you actually driving now?
I'm driving.
Nice.
I'm actually driving. No shit. Surprise there.
So,
Nice.
I'll tell you guys a little story. Dad likes to tell stories. Well, I got to tell you one of my own. This little shotgun, this 20 gauge I had back when it was in its original configuration. I was probably 12, 13 years old. My grandpa took me squirrel hunting. No, it's not the chipmunk story. It's the other one. So we go out there and Pap sits me down just below the crest of this ridge. And then he says, you see a squirrel, you shoot it. I'm going to go down here. So he rolls down the ridge line a little bit. And sure enough, after about 5 minutes, here comes this little gray squirrel. And no, it wasn't a chipmunk. It was a gray squirrel. And I've got a bone stock 20 gauge 870, 4 in the tube, 1 in the chamber. That squirrel sitting on their log, and I just mag dumped it, all 5 rounds. Sprint over to the thing, parkouring off logs and shit. Do the over the top ejection port reload, come around and bust it one last time on the ground. And I start yelling, Pap, I got one. And from off in the distance, I hear my grandfather say, I fucking hope so.
So speaking of stories, I'll tell my quick. When I first met Rob Haught, it was a class at Fort Harmar, and he was doing a little demo on his shotgun push-pull stuff, which of course I hadn't seen him do before. And in the middle of his demo, a rabid raccoon wandered onto the range. Okay, now we're in a carbine class, and we see this thing sort of walking funny and making all kinds of noise. And there was this flash of recognition up and down the lines. There's a bunch of guys with loaded guns. We're all like, but before we could do anything, Rob chambered his 870, and he didn't just shoot that raccoon, he smeared it all over the range. It's just a testament to the power of the 12 gauge, man. It just took that raccoon and just all over the freaking, I guess it was like the 7-yard line before we could get a shot off. And I remember the most profound sense of disappointment that I didn't get to shoot it first, that he beat me to it. So weird things happen when you're around Rob. Just be warned.
That is good to know. Well, I'm going to go. Oh, gee, I didn't realize how late it was. Yeah, that was a 3.5 hour episode.
Wow.
Lots of info.
Yes, indeed.
I'm going to go ensure a 7-year-old is properly put away and stowed for the morning.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you tonight, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that we should have talked for 1 hour for every round that you have in your weapon. So I think we've.
We're close. We're close. All right, gents. You stay safe. Have a good night.
You too.
Take care of yourselves.
Take care, guys.
And that's all. See, I tricked everyone. We're still going, so. Oh, I love the stories. And yeah, just like I say, I've said it on a bunch of these, being able to get the third dimension of a lot of these people is the best part. The best part of finding out what these people are really about, finding out the characters behind them. Well, I think I will now officially make sure that 7-year-old is in bed. Probably my wife's asleep too. Well, no idea what we're going to do next Thursday. It's probably going to be good, I hope. Talk to you guys later.